All right, let me go ahead and bring this meeting to order. Please start with introductions.
Sure.
Please.
Robert Kelly.
Carol Martin, School Board Rep.
John Moran.
John Decker.
Michelle King,
Thomas Butkevich.
Jeffrey Morrison.
Michael Kelly.
thank you. And we'll note that Tom Lavelle isn't here today. He won't be here today. He emailed me. Sandra is not here yet, maybe. I didn't get an email. And Owen Frengray isn't here as well. Am I missing any?
Is he coming?
I don't know. I haven't got emails. Tom Lavelle was the only one I got an email from. Okay. So we'll go ahead and accept the minutes of November 17th. Is that what we?
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of November 17th.
Second.
It would help me if you gave your name when you make the
Alright.
motion,
John Decker.
and you moved, and
Tom.
I'm second.
Yes. All those in favor of accepting the minutes from 11/17? Aye. Everybody on the board? Agreed. Everybody present agreed?
Alright, I,
Yes,
John
aye.
Decker, make a motion to accept the minutes of 12:15.
I'll second that. Robert Kelly.
All those in favor of accepting the minutes from 12:15?
I'm gonna abstain, I didn't get a chance to read
You skipped December 1st, did you mean to?
There
Or
was-
did we already
We
do it?
We already
those
did
last
December
week.
1st.
The agenda was wrong. So everybody approved that, except for,
Yep, everybody approved, except for,
Michael Kelly.
yes. Okay.
one abstention, Michael Kelly.
Extension, and who seconded the motion?
Bob
I
Kelly.
did.
Okay. Now that that's all done, we'll go ahead and start discussing the town budget draft.
Sure.
Okay.
So you wanna do tonight?
So were there any changes from the version that we got last week here?
No.
Okay. And John, did you say something, town administrator John, did you say something about the number that we have to hit might have changed?
It is $64,606.
Okay, great,
That's the number you had last.
That's what I got here.
From the email?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, are there any updates from you, John, or anything?
No.
Okay, so anyways, I got a chance to dig into this last night. I got,
Well, do you want it, so before, we'll go
Can you read that
procedurally
amount
wise.
again?
$64,606.
Your thing, it says this right there. It's 1.3, 1.34 point, well, from 3.101, 64,606. Would the board like to go through this row, line item by line item by line item?
well, John, I would, I'll say, I went through it line item by line item myself last night, looking for places where we can make responsible cuts to things to get under the tax cap without impacting critical town services or anything like that. Because certainly, I mean, we could do something like, it's 64,000 out of a almost $5 million budget, so you could just go through here and you could change every line by 1.34% down, right? So you could do something like that. But we don't want to take away from things that, need the full funding, that type of stuff, or things that have been flat for years and have been
You're all
fine with
open for
that.
discussion.
Yes. So I went through here, and so I know we got to knock off about 64,000. I identified 72,000 in cuts, so that gives us some wiggle room if people want to say that's not a good one or something like that. But at the end of the night, we have to essentially give you a budget that is under this number so that you can put it in. Because you have to recommend a budget that's under this number, and we have to recommend a budget under this number. So if that's fine, I don't know if anybody else has things that they want to address while we go through. I have,
That's what we're basically finding out, is how does people want to proceed?
well, I think we should go in order. If people have notes, we can go through in order.
If you probably have the most things,
Well, I
we
mean,
should probably start with you going through them, and then if somebody else wants to,
As we're going through it,
Add
so
in-
line by line.
right, basically,
So,
at least
I'd
pay-
probably.
Right, if we go line by line, then you can speak up, and then if other people will know that that line is being talked
Make sure they
about.
work.
For you to go through and give yours, if somebody's not paying attention, we could have the course of them repeating the same thing that you said.
Well, hopefully they pay attention. I would go through it in order.
right.
So I
It's
think,
just easier to go
You
through
got
line
it
by
on
line.
email?
what?
Did you get a document?
Yeah, you got it on Excel, right?
Yeah, well, so I got one from John, but the one that I have here is actually, I took the PDF version that we got in the email, and Adobe's website has a PDF to Excel thing, and
It's
that,
not that great.
it worked, but the problem is, it doesn't preserve any of the formulas, so none of the totals work, so I had to fiddle a little bit with that.
All right.
But yeah, why don't
Is
we
everybody
start?
okay with that, going line by line?
And it's your
That-
meeting, so
Right.
I'm just here to,
Okay, and I know the weather started already before we got here, so I really want to keep this meeting on track, and let's try to just stay focused on what the line items we're going through, so I just
Yeah.
putting it out there.
And, just understanding that we do have to cut $64,000 out of this thing. Cuts have to be made, so we shouldn't spend like a ton of time arguing about every single one, because, if I've got 72,000 here and some other people have some, we still have to cut 65, so
Yeah.
like,
well, what we're
You're
doing,
just taking suggestions, right? We're not voting on any of
we're
them.
taking suggestions.
I don't wanna go through this line by line,
gonna
making
have-
motions for every one.
No,
Because we're just gonna give this to you.
So the point where I wanted to go with this was that we're gonna go through tonight, we're gonna make all the suggestions, we're gonna take all the cuts, we're gonna get down to the number.
Yeah.
I'm bringing this back to the Board of Selectmen. We're gonna go over all the suggestions that were made there and come up with that final number that we feel as the board to come back and present to you and say, this is where we're comfortable, this is, we're at 3.94% or wherever it is.
I agree.
Yep.
With the recommendations that you gave, and this is where we feel we should have for a budget.
All right.
Then we can go from there as a board here and vote on that right there.
Does everybody
Sounds good.
sound okay? I mean,
Yep.
does that sound okay with everybody else?
Yep.
Because that's what I had in my head, at least what was gonna happen tonight.
All right, so let's start with line one. So John, I know you had floated the idea of cutting that from 3,600 per person per year to 3,000 per person per year. That will save $3,000. And I have marked in here that this would be a temporary adjustment to 3,000 per year, knowing that it's a volunteer position and people shouldn't be doing this for the money. And that if you guys get the tax increase under 4% next year, that we just put it back to 3,600.
Okay. So how much are we cutting off that line?
3,000. And then,
The town administrator's line, as much as you guys might wanna cut that or go from there, we have to discuss, and I will bring this up, we're hiring a new town manager. So we actually went through our process last week, we finished all all 4 candidates that we have, we're gonna narrow it down to 2. We can't really set this number because we don't know what they're going to accept. I do not see us wanting to give them right off the top the highest of everything. Because there's qualifications, there's different things that can go along with what we're gonna present them for an offer.
Yeah.
This was a cap number of 105 at the max we're gonna pay anybody for this job. It's not a guarantee we pay.
so you have 2 good candidates?
So
We're
good,
gonna
so-
have, we have
so we
4
expect that
good
number-
candidates, but we're narrowing it down to 2.
Narrow,
And we're hoping to have a decision made by mid-January of who our new town administrator
so you
will
could
be.
narrow
So
it
we
down to
expect
2 or
that number to be
3,
less.
and then you could do a reverse Dutch auction type thing, where you have them underbid each other, and who's gonna work for the lowest salary.
All right, so we're
I don't
leaving
know,
that
I
line
don't know if the
alone.
feeling of,
Alright.
I need to work for Nottingham that
Yeah.
bad is worth it, so.
Yeah, I had no changes to that line.
All right.
So, yeah, so we should expect that number to be less. That's,
Well,
Just
Well, no,
circled it and
because
put
you're also
tentative.
paying for an interim, so it's probably not gonna be less.
Okay, so,
well, the interim,
Because the person's not gonna start on the day that you offer.
yeah,
the
but
job.
we're only gonna have him maybe for 2 weeks into the, hopefully, or.
Well,
let's
no,
see,
if
3
you
all right.
offer it into.
Right, depending on how long of a notice they
month,
need
a
to
month
give their
and a
other
half.
one, so it could be a month and a half, but
John gave us a good explanation of why it is what it is.
it is what it is, so,
Yep.
okay.
all right, so line 4, that is the merit pay raises that are allotted. I have a reduction of $10,000, taking that from 75,000 to 65,000. That is still 61% more than it was budgeted in 2021. So one thing is that these are raises that get baked into the next year's calculations. So this, all the ones that were given out last year now appear as separate line items, increases to salaries. So this doesn't cut anybody's raises that are in this new budget. It just means that slightly less will get distributed next year. But again, it's still 61% more than was in the budget 2 years ago.
So line 4, you wanna cut 10,000,
Yes.
okay?
And then line 6, the printing.
If anybody else has a suggestion as
Yeah.
we're going down, if you have another
Yeah.
note,
Yeah.
feel free to cut Tom off, no
Yeah,
offense, but just,
I will, when if, I'm sure he's gonna have mine.
I'm just making sure to,
So line 6, the printing, I know there was some discussion about not printing as many town reports, which I think is a great idea, seeing as we have all these huge boxes of them over here. I would like to further reduce that by $500 to $2,000 and encourage just not even handing them out at town meeting, just offering them as a PDF download a few days in advance of town meeting.
What if they have the scan, if we do the QR code?
That's true, yeah, we could put a QR code and
And then
point
people
straight
can
to a
scan
link.
it, and
It's a
then
good
they have it
idea.
on their phone.
Because I think every year we end up with boxes and boxes of those.
yeah,
So you
that's why
wanna
we cut the thing down.
Take
like a-
that down.
And I'm just looking for places we can do it
Nope,
for.
good, yeah, I'm just
Take that down by what?
reiterating what,
Down by 5,000, or sorry, down by 500 to 2,000.
QR thing would be nice.
Yeah, I like that idea. And then down to line 16 and 17, both of these are chronically underspent, so I would move the equipment line from 800 to 400 and the mileage line from 400 to 200. So taking,
I would go less on the mileage even, because it was 300, 0 spent, 200, 0 spent, now it's up to 400. With an eight, I mean, I would go take that down to like
100?
$50 maybe.
sure.
wait, so line 16 we're on.
Nope, we're going to 17 now.
But those are two.
Well, we said 16 and 17.
Yeah,
Yes, he said,
But
What's-
two COVID years, or a year and a half, where, I assume this is mileage for a town administrator to attend conferences or meetings or whatever, right?
For everything,
Your
right.
town administrator won't be able to do any attendance at any conferences or whatever, because the mileage rate is probably, I don't even know how much per mile now.
I don't, is anything planned?
70
Right.
cents.
I haven't heard
I
anything.
can't tell you because I can't ask the town administrator because we don't have one.
If I may,
Yes,
yeah, these lines are lines directly related to the town administrator, and you've got to expect the new town administrator, given the freeing up of COVID stuff, will start attending, and these are fairly common numbers for what could be used for going to training and sessions. They have a monthly meeting for the New Hampshire Managers Association. There are Primex meetings that, the workshop itself is free, but the travel to it, they were doing a bunch online, now they're going back to in-person.
Do they offer them as hybrids where you can zoom into them, but some of them?
Some.
So I would encourage the town administrator to do that too.
The disadvantage of hybrid is the interaction, especially for a new town administrator, meeting other managers and the camaraderie you develop, the fact that you know people, you can then give them a call. There's an advantage to being in person over hybrid or remote.
Yeah, I understand. Well, so my
this
suggestion
again?
was
What's
400 off
16?
equipment. Was there any discussion on?
$400?
16,
16 was 400.
yeah, we subtracted that by 400.
Does anybody want to see that maybe at 500 or 600?
To remove or to set?
Well, you just drop it $200 instead of dropping it.
The equipment line?
The equipment line,
Equipment
I mean, you're
Hey,
spending,
we have $800 set.
you have $800, but you
But
spent
spent
83 and you
83.
spent 140.
Right,
Right,
COVID years, but okay, I'm just saying.
sure.
that's equipment.
That's,
COVID
yeah, what kind of
doesn't-
equipment?
Equipment
Change
should
your
have nothing to
equipment.
do with equipment.
I'm okay with it being 400.
Okay, for the 400, there you go, perfect.
You're dropping it 400.
Yes, sir.
I think the mileage should stay at least 200.
That's
because
what I
all
had.
the things we talked about.
I think 200 is reasonable.
I agree.
Well, that's better than 400.
True.
So you're dropping the mileage 200.
Yes.
Yep,
Yes.
that's the same as it was last year, with 0 spent, so.
So the next one I have is 21 Pawtuckaway Lake Association. I would recommend reducing that by $500 to $4,500, and that would serve as a signal to the state that we are going to slowly start reducing that amount and expecting the state to pick up the maintenance and the care of the lake that is entirely like.
And just so you
And I
know,
don't
entirely
think
the
that will
state.
get
just so you know, that number was $10,000. The
That will
Board of
not-
Selectmen cut it to 5.
Wasn't that at,
Yeah, wasn't it,
the
wasn't it somewhere
milfoil
else
problem
though?
is astronomical.
I thought it was somewhere else in the
But I'm
budget
saying,
though.
we've already cut,
It is-
the BOS cut
lake is.
I wasn't expecting all of these to be popular.
Right,
No, but I'm just
Oh,
saying though, that, again, I'm just saying that I want to let you know that it doesn't say that the BOS cut this already 50%.
Yeah.
So just a
If anything, we'll probably
reminder.
be suggesting increasing it.
Yeah,
Wasn't there a warrant article on it
I could
though?
go without that,
exactly.
but, I mean, I could go without that one.
I would like to say that on 21 there, I think we should take it down to 0 in the sense that it's not really the town taxpayer's responsibility. Now, I love the lake.
Yeah, it is.
I
Yes,
support it.
Actually,
When all the other properties have to absorb the tax.
it is 100%
Assessment
responsibility of the town.
The lake is owned by the state.
Right, but it's the town's responsibility.
Only
You
because,
have to
only
change the
because,
law.
only because the state has not taken
That's-
responsibility.
That's the way the law is written.
All right.
Regardless,
So-
they're gonna take
Let's,
care
let's
of
not
it.
get
Let's put a
into,
pin in
yeah,
21.
let's not get into the weeds.
Move on.
I'm
That's-
just saying, wasn't a warrant article for another 10 grand or something last year? for the
It was
night?
the discussion, there was a bunch of
Yeah.
talk at
Is there gonna be
the,
another warrant article for that this year?
if somebody wants to bring it to the town, right? The
Because the
town
town
meeting,
double dipped
but-
on it last year because it was.
And
out
they
of the
added it
budget,
back in, right,
then
on
it went in the
deliberation?
budget, and then they kept the warrant article, the
They-
numbers the same.
They
so
kept the
ended up
warrant,
with
ar-
more.
they kept the
Right.
warrant article for 10, but they added 5,000 elsewhere.
All right, so that one's not, that's not a super
Non-popular
popular
one.
one, but it
All right,
sounds like it
let's-
already got cut a lot, so
Yeah,
that's great.
let's-
Anyways,
So do we
No,
cut
we didn't
anything
touch
there?
it.
No, we're just talking.
I'm putting on my notes a
suggestions.
question.
yeah,
Okay.
so,
For an amount.
Not
That's fine.
popular.
I like
Good
that.
question.
So is anything being done to line 21?
no.
No, we'll discuss that again before we come back to the next one. I got a question mark on what we,
So line 22, newsletter. So I would suggest that we reduce this to $6,000, so reducing it 1,700. And I would encourage the town to start offering paperless email delivery with a PDF, and that will result in less printing expenses and less postage expenses. So send a thing out that says, hey, do you want to receive your town newsletter as a PDF in your email? Sign up once here and you'll get it that way forever, and that should slowly start reducing the amount that we have to print and mail.
and again, so one of the things about this is that our elderly population that does not receive that is going to explain to
And
you
it's-
that they need it.
And
So-
it's an opt-in thing, right? It's
Okay.
opt-in to paperless.
Yep.
And that's why it's only a slight reduction, because I don't know how many people will opt in for the paperless. I will. It's
Go for it.
more convenient.
So what's
Does,
the reduction?
We're just discussing it right now.
does the town have constant contacts or something like
I mean,
that?
because then you're paying for that too.
Right, exactly, that's my point, exactly, because if we do something like that, we have to get constant contact or some other service and pay for that, so that would need to be budgeted.
And
I
then it
believe-
goes to your
Or
spam
taken out
folder
of
and
this
you never
budget,
actually see
right?
Yeah.
Right, it could be
Right
taken
to
out,
it.
yeah,
Taken out of this
exactly.
budget,
Yeah.
this line.
Exactly,
you know what I mean?
as long as it's budgeted for, and if we're gonna start going that way, and I'm not opposed to going that way.
either.
Right.
I just wanna make sure that we budget appropriately for it.
We could also ask around. I'm sure the rec department sends things out through email, and the
All the time.
library,
They're
so
really
they
good
might
at it.
have some sort of software
The
already.
rec
That's why I
does the
said
QR
those-
codes, you
Yeah.
can make
That's
the
why I
I
payments.
would be opposed to this, except the opt-in thing makes perfect sense because the elderly population that we're concerned about and people who don't have computers, and if they did have them, they wouldn't know how to use them.
Yep.
And there are lots of those people. I know some of them.
Yeah.
We'll
So
just
that's
put
why I suggest opt-in, and
Yeah.
it's a slight reduction. I don't know what the percent
Again,
is, but.
Yeah,
these
that's
are
a
all-
better way.
We're gonna come back, we're just
Yep,
taking in the information as we're rolling through, so.
Opt-in I'm just putting the note opt-in decrease.
So what was the
Line
amount?
22.
How much?
I don't think we
There's
came
not a
up with a
number.
number.
I,
think we're
I
just
suggest
asking-
reducing it by 1,700 to 6,000.
So line 22, you suggested reducing it by 1,700?
Yes, to 6,000. I have a question regarding, and I'm sorry if this has been answered before. Line 26, the town clerk's salary. I think there was some discussion about them being paid out of fees or something as well? Like, this is not the whole salary, right?
No, it is not.
Line 27.
TC fees
Fees,
are added
yeah.
to it.
So the fees, what we see there, that's stuff that's being paid as well?
Yes.
Okay,
Right,
stuff
so
that they collect,
yeah, and that gets offset by revenue.
right.
Okay, makes sense. Was there, John, did you discuss, you said something, or someone said something about considering dropping the salary line because the fees were expected to go up?
They had requested an increase in rate, and the selectmen talked about it but never made a decision. I think the selectmen need to revisit the comment at the end there was a discussion that their hours had gone up, which is what was driving the line. So were the hours enough to end up with the budgeted line, but does this comment would mean they get a raise on hourly rate? And there was a question, one of the select board members did not think elected officials should get raises, so.
And, sorry, I was gonna bring the one thing too, is because the fact that they're, you don't wanna say commission-based, but fee-based, they didn't get the same as when we gave the 3% merit for everybody in town, all the employees. These two did not get that. So that's why when they were asking, you know, do we pay them a little more, it's kind of a direct effect because the fact that we paid everybody,
Right.
but them.
Well, I mean, if these two are
So-
together, this would be 70, almost 79,000. That's pretty good.
Oh.
I don't have any suggested changes to that. I just wanted
Okay.
to clarify how that works.
No worries.
My next comment or suggestion would be line 36, election salaries. I believe it said in
I
here,
got 29.
29,
Go ahead,
okay.
TC
Yeah.
postage.
Man, I thought you'd have that one. So,
Okay, so we're on line 29?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
so 29, so in 2021, we budgeted 2330, and then we spent 35. We budgeted 27 and spent 34. Now we're budgeting 4,000. I mean, I would just knock that down like a couple $100 or something, just to,
You wanna just call it 35 and hopefully stay the same?
no, I'd call it like 37.
So cut 250?
Yeah, just, yeah, 250,
Why did it
300.
need to go up? I mean,
Well, because the tax, the postage is
Postage
going
is
up.
going up,
postage is
yeah.
going up, gotcha.
They're
Postage
always
is going
going
up,
up.
so I wanna
Yes,
make
it
sure,
is.
it's
Okay.
only going
I
up
got
2
it.
cents, but, or
John,
2,
is-
3 cents?
Is part of the reason it's going up that they're doing more mail-in and like online type stuff, so that people are not coming in person and just being handed things and they have to have it mailed to them?
You know what? I have no idea.
Okay.
I'm not gonna tell you
There's
something.
anticipation of a rate increase too, I think it's pretty sure.
Right, yeah, it's like.
That's what I thought you meant.
When you were just
postage is
saying,
going up.
I mean, we
Yeah,
have to
something
pay,
is going
we have
up.
to pay to mail out all your tax bills.
Right,
I mean, which is not.
That's a good return, though. That's a good return on.
We still gotta pay to get rid of them all. I mean, so there's a bunch of, I mean,
So I-
miscellaneous mail that goes out
I
every
think
day that we have to pay for.
Avatar, which does our tax assessing and everything, they offer a paperless billing system. So that might be something that we're already paying for that we could be using.
We can find out. We've cut them quite a bit too, so we'll-
Yep.
we're not paying them
So
the full
line,
potential
line
either.
29, are we dropping that 250 or 300?
250. Oh.
250,
gonna-
I think. You said 250.
Yeah, that's fine, 250, that's fine.
250 for the postage?
That's, so 3750.
Okay.
And then you had Tom 36.
So yeah, I was looking at 36, which is the election workers, or the election salaries, and then also the election supervisor salaries in 37. So this note still says that they're planning for a potential 2023 presidential primary. I don't know if that's been canceled or changed, or if that's still factored into this money. But when you look at the 2021 actuals, and that's the last time we've had an off year where it's basically just the town election. They spent 2,653 in line 36. So that's being up to 5,000 in here, which is, I think, a lot. So I would suggest reducing that down to 3,200. So that would be a reduction of 1,816. That's 21% more than the 2021 actuals. So,
Line 36, you're talking about election workers?
yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And how much are you reducing it?
I would reduce it by,
Talking about it.
I'm suggesting $1,816, which takes it down to an even 3,200.
1816.
Yes. Because that's still 21% more than 2021, which was the last time we had just
Are
a
we
town
on line
election.
36 or 37?
Yeah, what's your line?
We're on 30, we're on
I'm
30
discussing them as a whole.
We're on 36
Can't
though.
discuss them as a whole.
You can't do that, Tom. 'cause
Okay.
You're gonna get people, I'm trying to keep notes
Yeah.
here.
You can't discuss
Right.
them as a whole.
But he mentioned both, but
I
we're on
mentioned
36.
I mentioned 36 because the note is in 36 about the 2023 presidential primary.
So that's an old note. If you look back at previous drafts, they already
Yes,
took it.
Yeah.
we don't see that in there. We don't see that note. On
I see a note in
Okay, so there is a
37.
difference between
But
this one and this
then
one.
37, that's
The
where.
36 is the salary, is the election workers.
Yeah.
And then 37
Is
is the salaries
Oh,
for
it's, yeah, it's still in here for 37.
Is the number the same or different?
So the original proposed was 13,375 for supervisors and 5,000 for workers.
So when it comes to 37, line 37, I don't think we should be budgeting for a potential 2023 primary.
We're budgeting $6,260 for,
They're not, they took
They're
that
not,
out,
they
that's
took
what I'm
that
saying. The
Right, so
old
why are we
scrap-
budgeting 6,000 when in 2021 it only cost 2,459?
Because they wanted to, did they have they had a rate increase or is it the same? The supervisors gonna?
well, the supervisors did come for a rate increase.
Okay, but
Not that much.
2,400 to 6,200? That's quite the pay increase. It says here $16. I don't know what the effect would be to just lower that to 15 or something. I'm assuming people aren't doing supervising elections to make a lot of money.
So line 37, you want to reduce $1,600.
1626 to 5,000 even. That's still almost double what was spent in 2021, which is the last off year. So it should be the same number of elections that they're running. So it's doubling the amount being spent in 2 years, which still seems like a lot, but I don't know the details. And then,
You say 1626, did you mean 1662?
yes, I guess so. Sorry. Like I said, there's no formulas in this Excel, and I was doing it late last night.
So 62.
Yeah, the new number would be 5,000.
For line 37.
Yes.
What about 36?
We're about 36.
Yeah, what about 36?
36 would be 3,200, a reduction of 1816.
It'd just be 1,800.
It's 5,000 right now, correct?
Yes.
And so if you want, what do you want to end up with?
32, is what you said, right,
So
Tom?
it wouldn't be
Yeah.
18,
So it'd be 18.
Right.
1,800 even.
Yeah,
1800.
sorry. This, like I said, there's no formulas in here, and I was experimenting with different numbers. Sorry.
That's, I just
Well,
trying
if
to
we-
clarify for the minutes.
We wanted to wind up at 3, right?
I was suggesting 3,200.
Oh, okay.
But that's just because they
Yeah.
budgeted 3,000 for 2021, and I don't know how they came up with that number, but I tacked on 200 for inflation for 2 years. So if we're done with those parts, the election office supplies in line 43,
No, what was, I'm sorry, 37? What did you want mine? 37 by?
37,
Is
we,
that a 5,000?
yeah, down to 5.
Okay.
So line 43, which is election office supplies, there was a note in here that they wanted a new 3-drawer filing cabinet and a phone. So first I would say, I'm suggesting that we reduce it to $350, which is a reduction of $360. That's a 71% increase still. I don't think that the election department needs their own phone. Clearly, they've been getting by, I don't know, receiving the calls and walking over to a desk. I don't think they get that many calls. And also, the phones in the building, I believe, are all covered under the internet thing. So there may be a way to add an extra extension or something that doesn't actually cost a lot. And then when it comes to the filing cabinet that they want, instead of buying a new 3-door filing cabinet, I would encourage the election department to go to the New Hampshire surplus sales. The state surplus, they sell off office equipment like filing cabinets and stuff like that for very, very cheap to, towns and cities and stuff like that.
Donations too,
Hmm?
donations.
Yep. So that, if it's just that they need more storage for files or something that doesn't require a brand new filing cabinet.
Yep, that may have to be a safe.
So how much did you reduce it by?
Oh, like a lock and
360.
Has to be a safe,
A lock and key one.
yeah.
lock and key cabinet.
Not-
those are
not
pretty
just
common.
a regular lock and key one. Does that have to be a safe, John?
No, it doesn't have to be a safe,
No, it
it has
doesn't.
a lock.
Okay, just has the lock.
So that's almost all of them, especially when you're talking about the state surplus sales. So the state, they do a sale every some number of
So what
months,
do you
but
want
they
to see on
also
line
have.
43?
Huh?
$200?
350? I'll cut it down to 250 if you want, John. I'm being generous with 350.
No, I said cut off.
Oh, cut off 360.
So I said 200, all right, never mind, yeah, I got you. I was on the right way of thinking, but okay, 360.
So then,
But they have got a new phone, they've got a new phone,
oh, okay.
so they're in the phone
All right, great. And then I would like to jump to the, and if no one has anything, I was gonna jump to line 83, which is the town
I
attorney.
would like to jump to 47.
Okay,
All right, salary bookkeeper. I'm fine with the rate, but it looks like her budget and actual have been, you know, it's like her actual every year has been under her budget.
Why
So,
is that?
well,
we're just chronically
Line
under,
47.
Because
underspending.
they're hourly, so if they
right, they're
don't
hourly,
work.
so they don't work as much as
I
it's been
see.
budgeted to work.
Times.
So I suggest we cut out, you know, so like,
Just
I
knock
would
it,
take it down to 50,000.
sounds good to me.
Here's the problem, she received a merit increase, and, I mean, everybody got 4% in the spring?
3, I thought it was, but could have been.
And then she got her merit raise as well, so, and that merit raise came in September or October. So next year, you need to leave it there.
Well, yeah, no, I would like to leave her rate, but just reflect her hours to be realistic.
Because they're increasing,
Because she's not working her
Right.
full amount of hours.
right,
Well, that's your assumption on the basis
Of-
that she's got another payroll going in there. So she is a little under, but,
I like 50,000.
Yeah, so actually, the actual year to date is not the full year. That's through the
So she is
21st.
or isn't expending all
There's
of
two
it.
So
more
there's
weeks
one
that-
more paycheck
Well,
that's not
Two more weeks in
reflected.
there, so it's probably just about the same.
Still be under 50 though.
Still under
Still be-
50, and even with an increase, so 51 then.
That sounds
Good to
fine.
me.
It's fine, yeah.
So
What's that minus in 1,400?
$1,400.
Hey,
And I assume that there's no overtime needed, so why budget for it?
Right.
Is that what that FT is on the
Yeah.
next line?
So then you're minus in 250
You wanna
on
put it
48
all
then?
there, leave it, or no?
Yeah. What's that?
Reduce it down to a dollar?
Reduce it to 0.
Okay.
You gotta put it to a dollar or else the line doesn't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
line
that's what I was
disappears.
saying, a
Put it to
dollar.
a
How much
dollar.
is coming off the budget, the bookkeeper's salary?
1,400.
Oh, that's what I thought, okay.
And then minus what, 249?
249.
9 for 48.
Yeah.
Oh, and minus this whole 250, right?
Yeah, well,
So, yeah. so
We're gonna leave a
that on
dollar.
top, or whatever it has to be. All right,
well, you should leave at least a dollar.
yeah, that's what I
That's
said,
what we
leave,
said.
leave it at a dollar,
Yeah.
yeah.
You will have some overtime. So, the line 48,
just cut 249.
Yep.
that was, John, your suggestion, John Decker?
Yeah. You ready for the next one?
Yep. Let's go.
Number 52, auditors. I'd just like to cut that down. So it's been, we've been spending like 12.5, 13. So, I
14.
mean, even if we budget for 14, that should be
Yeah.
plenty
I
sufficient.
don't
Yeah.
think they've been fully paid this year, because we just got the final audit last week, so I suspect there's another bill in here.
All right, well, then look at it next
Well,
week when you guys get.
we're gonna
this.
go over everything,
Right.
so,
Right, so if
So if
it-
we can reduce
it's
that to
something that looks
14,
like
that'd be
it's
great.
A
Yeah,
place that we could take a couple thousand.
Is
out,
that even
maybe.
a voluntarily, like, adjustable thing? Like, you can't just take it to zero and be like, no one can audit us, right? I mean, right? I mean, how does
You
that
don't-
work?
You don't want that, you
Yeah.
want people to, you wanna have audits.
Yeah, you want to have audits, because when they get government
they're
audits,
checking to
yeah,
make sure the people out here aren't doing what they're not supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah.
it's kind of a,
It's like a self-audit, we have that quality assurance, self-audit, all that.
Auditor with a set number in it.
yeah.
so.
Could we just mark that one with a question mark and then it
Right,
get
right.
checked out?
we might wanna make a note that on Tuesday, when we go over this with the, selectmen, that, we have Betsy there, just to make sure that we go with these numbers with her. And she'll have a list of this, you know, on Tuesday anyways, when she gets back, so.
We just mark
Sorry,
it,
that's just internal.
we just marking that with a question mark, check it out.
Yeah.
We want the board of selectmen to discuss that.
Well, cause we'll
maybe
have
knock it
Betsy with
down.
us, who's, will give us an
Couple
answer on
thousand.
every single thing, so then we'll be able to say, okay.
Great.
We're gonna use her from what we say tonight to rationalize the numbers to make sure that they do jive and that we're not taking away from something that we can't take away from, so it's.
Okay.
So where were we on that one?
What's
Sorry.
line 54?
That was 52, right? Question mark?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
board, and, you asked the board to look at the contract.
Yeah.
Right. So 55 postage, we could probably bump that down, because so it's been spent at 35 and 3,000.
What's 50, what's 54?
Yeah, that's what I was saying,
Salary
54.
piece.
That's the budget committee secretary.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say we can,
Cause it shows 0 for 20.
oh, no, that's the
That can't be
secretary.
right.
Yeah, I don't know what, I figured that's where the minutes come from, right?
Yes.
That's my guess. Well, if that only cost us 365 in 2021,
Is it because that person held a different position, so the salary probably went to a different
Well,
one?
who did the,
Lorraine.
Lorraine did for a while, a little
But
bit
she
this
had
year,
other
right?
positions, she was doing budget committee as an extra.
Yeah, this might not be her
she
full
was
thing.
doing Board of Selectmen, she was doing,
it all went to a different line.
Right, it probably went to the wrong place.
so let's just
getting
go,
paid for
so
both.
let's just do quick right here for like what you just
Right.
said, what you were talking about earlier. We have, what, 12 meetings this year, right, give or take, am I roughly, we're gonna see each other 12 times?
Okay.
All right, times, we're gonna cost, it was $25 an hour, $50 an hour to take minutes or whatever we were just talking about?
for like a professional consulting person, yeah.
Just again, for numbers, right?
Yeah.
So average meeting is 3 hours,
No,
2 hours?
no. Because all the first ones of the year are pretty quick,
Yeah.
and there's not a
I was
lot to
just
talk
wondering what
about.
it was.
Average it
last
out?
few.
You wanna average it out? Cause remember, you're gonna still have to be there for
I'd
deliberations.
say it would average out at about 2, because we have the short ones when they come in, and then we get the long
The couple
10 or
long
10s or
ones.
11s.
So 30 hours.
We can keep going.
Yeah, let's keep going. I don't have any comments on this line, so.
All right, postage,
So I was
John,
saying postage, we could probably bring that down to,
So we're on
4,000.
line 55 postage, right?
yes.
Yep.
Yeah,
I was
They-
gonna
they
say level
increased
fund
it.
again, 4,000.
yeah.
I agree.
I would say at most 4,000, yeah.
So we're gonna cut the 500.
Minus
500,
500.
yep.
I like that.
You're cutting it by,
500.
Um, I don't know about this registry of deeds, it probably doesn't matter that much, take a couple bucks out of there and, what about the training support line? That's like a new line maybe?
What line?
59.
59.
I'm gonna just keep it at 50.
there was a feeling that now that things are opening up, we should do some training on our financial staff.
Might not be a bad idea.
Yeah.
Software licensing, line 60.
Isn't that something that it costs what it costs?
Well, it's definitely gone up, that's for sure.
I know, but it's
We're
not in our
kinda, our hands
control.
are kinda tied, cause we're
Yeah,
under
but it-
contract.
Like I can
Has
decide
it-
I'm gonna budget less for gas, but when I go to the gas pump, it's not
Has
gonna
it
happen.
gone up $1,500? It should be a contract, we should already know.
Right, well, 6,500 to around 84, so
What's BMSI?
it has gone.
Financials.
BMSI is our financial accounting software, and Avatar is our assessing and tax software.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the Avatar stuff.
Right. Has the contract gone up that much?
Yes, I think it did, but I can check, we can ask.
It was more of a question on that, like,
Yep, I'll put that
Alright.
down as a question.
all right, budget committee advertising. I would say take that to 0. I mean, we haven't spent any money there. It's been 150 consistently.
You want 0 or a dollar?
$1, whatever, $1.
Cut at
If I
149.
say 0, it means $1.
Yeah, so line 62
Okay.
cut by 149. Please.
All right, that takes me to the end of that page.
What's our mortgage? What's
Mortgage
FA mortgage?
research?
That could be something we have to do when we, for tax purposes, when we're taking somebody's tax property, because they're not paying, you gotta go find out who their mortgages was, who's the lien holder of the house, who is all the financials that are on it before you can.
But John, you told me the town never takes anybody's house.
but we still have to send them
You gotta do
letters.
the research, though.
Still gotta make the threat, right? Yeah.
Alright,
Because we did have a situation in town where there was a certain house, not going into too many details on it, but it was really in bad shape and there was a lot of health issues and public details wrong with it. And we had to go find out who it was, and it was a Fannie Mae house, and we had to go through Fannie Mae, and we had to it was a,
Bunch of digging through.
Right, yeah.
So if
I know
that's,
what you
if
mean.
that's what the mortgage stuff
Shit.
is, then I don't know what to say about it. But if the mortgage thing is like checking on all of the existing mortgages and stuff, since we paid almost everything off last year around, then we shouldn't need as much servicing on that.
He meant homes,
I
not
know, yeah.
mortgages. on-
But I meant if that's talking about all of the town's mortgages and,
You absolutely need this, because you need to check all
Yeah.
of the mortgages and before you can lien a property when they haven't paid their taxes.
so like what I just kind of basically just
Yeah,
said.
Right,
Yep.
right.
I know.
Does it need to be $1,200?
You never know what's
Actually,
gonna,
330.
Well, it's been 330.
Well, the
how many people are delinquent this year, John?
Yeah, but look at the
we
actual.
don't know yet, cause the bills just went out.
It jumped up
Ask
to
me in
1,200.
Right,
January.
but it takes a year to take the house, so
It's
you would already
huge.
know the people that
Okay.
haven't paid for a year or
They
two.
have to do this, it's just.
yeah, alright,
Yeah, okay.
thank you
I'd
for
leave
that.
it.
Alright, so we're rolling right along.
Are we moving off that page?
Yep, that's the end oh, are you done, are you
Yeah,
done with
that's
this?
the next page.
Okay.
Registry of Deeds, line 71. I'm just questioning whether that has to be 400. Because we spent like 250 and 212.
I'm assuming that is changing deeds on things, like if the town takes a tax deeds of property, that's just the fee that we would pay to the county to record new deeds or something like that?
Well, the county doesn't do anything without getting a fee.
Yeah.
So we can't even call them and say, hey, go get us this, because there's everything,
Fee associated.
with everything down
Yeah,
there.
I
You ever
think-
go there and try to get a thing? The lady's not very helpful behind the counter, and they charge you to
Yeah.
friggin'
They
20
charge
bucks
you
to
say
print
hello.
something. Yeah,
Well,
basically.
that's why the county portion of our tax
they
bill
call
is
it-
like
If-
tiny,
If we
tiny.
could take $100 off of that, that would be great.
Yep,
No? You're saying?
Whatever, okay?
It's hard to know, because we have to pay for copies of deeds, and we have to have
Hmm?
those deeds, and we've been put into folders, so we have to pay the county, which
Right.
is why the
Right.
county budget is so low.
Sure.
You're absolutely right, whoever said that.
So, all
Alright.
right.
I mean,
Okay, that's
as I
fine.
look at it.
It's
you're-
not,
you're
it's only
looking at
$100.
the-
it's not a
You're
huge
looking
deal.
at the sand rather than the rocks that go into the big jar.
We're looking at
Well,
everything.
Looking at
kind of
everything.
John.
Hey, because we're watching our,
Microscopic sand.
That's how I got
we gotta
that.
watch our pennies in this budget,
Yep,
because that's the way we're gonna get to
doing our
our,
due diligence.
Yep, no.
We're
I'm
actually
just
doing our
telling you,
job.
You're gonna spend a long time when you're working at $100 at a line, right?
Yeah, well, we got plenty of time, John.
Alright, well, let's keep it going.
All right, so
keep it
number,
going. So, go ahead, John.
I got 83.
83.
Town
We got
attorney.
Are we
I
done
got
with
80.
71?
Yeah.
Yes.
Leave it the way it is?
Leave it as it
Yeah.
is. That's
Okay.
fine. 80. So maybe it's because the bill hasn't come in yet.
Maybe, yeah.
You know, that's part of the problem, is we're looking at stuff that hasn't had all.
Then
I'll make a note on line 80 to make sure the bill, asking about the bill.
Check
Yeah.
before a bill.
Because I don't know, I mean, are we still doing this mapping stuff?
Oh, we have to, yeah.
Right, I mean, but are we doing as much as we have done in the past?
You actually do more because of subdivisions. The subdivisions drive a lot of the mapping.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's probably that we haven't billed it yet.
Alright, go ahead, Tom.
83 town attorney. I would suggest lowering that by 10%, so dropping 3,000 down to 27,000. As far as I know, John, are there pending cases like and stuff? Because I know we've been tied up the last few years with road lawsuits and stuff like that, and chemical trespass lawsuits, and it sounds pretty quiet.
Well, that's the beauty, we don't know. I mean, every
Yeah.
year, there's something could come up.
Right.
You know, somebody could sue us for this budget.
Yeah.
What line
Somebody
did you
could, I
say?
mean,
You said 83?
people
Yeah,
could
that is
sue,
the
Yeah,
negative
83 town
25
attorney.
already.
Town attorney.
you know, we could get somebody on all the new roads that were accepted could sue the town. Now, because we're not plowing some of those, which might be considered new roads.
Right.
So you could get 4 homeowners right there. And I'm not trying to bring up ideas for people, but, you know, if they all,
Yeah.
four homeowners that have a decent amount of money get together and wanna come after the town, it could be,
You already cut 10,000, so.
I know we did,
Yeah,
but,
I mean,
All right. I didn't notice the 10,000 cut, so.
Yeah, 10,000 already cut.
yeah, we did cut that, so, but,
Well, that's because we were like tied up with some like lawsuits back then.
but again, trust me, what knowing
Okay.
what could be out there is alarming. Let's just hope
Alright.
it doesn't get to the place that we need it.
I have a question on 87, the health
Yeah.
insurance. When was the last time we shopped around? Is there any chance?
We will be shopping around this year.
Awesome.
So this was I think, a contractor thing that we had where it just jumped up the 11%. Plus this also figures in the fact of the new, 4 full-time firefighters.
Firefighters are on
And
that.
what their insurance is, you know, people have family plans, different plans and everything like this, so that changes. But we will be, it has been a discussion on the last, maybe 2 budget, selectmen meetings ago, that this will be something when, I think this issue comes up in like April or May is when we can actually officially start shopping for a new.
Maybe something like an HSA.
And that will be something that we will be, addressing our new, administrator as a, we already have a list for them, they don't know about it yet,
Well, I'm
but there's going to be a,
Don't tell them.
They would,
Don't tell them until after.
we ain't telling them
They
nothing.
signed the acceptance
they
letter
would
first.
expect that.
I'm sure they
should
will.
expect that.
So, most of them already looked at our budget, but that is something we're gonna discuss.
Shopping around for insurance.
So on 86, it looks like it's been budgeted for 4,000 like the last few years, but we spent 1,500 in 2021.
John, can you explain what is
What is
line
that?
86?
I believe that it is that you have a high deductible plan that some people are in, and you guarantee that if they go over the deductible, you'll pick up some of their costs. And if it doesn't happen, then you save the money. If it does happen, you have to pay it out. It's because it's cheaper for the rate, but I'm not positive.
So we'll put a question on line 86. What would you wanna do on that anyways?
I wanted to question it to see, because I wasn't exactly sure what it meant.
I'm not positive, but that's what I think it is.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna put a question if we can cut.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because we're
X
not.
amount.
Because
Let's put
we
a-
obviously haven't been spending it.
Thank you.
Well, if no one's taking a high deductible plan though, you know what I mean?
We have several on high deductible plan, but apparently they've been healthy.
Yeah, it'll depend on whether they use it or
Well,
not.
that's what's
Yeah.
nice if you get the like an
If they get the high
HSA, you know what I mean?
deductible
That's
and
what I
something
have.
serious
You're young and
happens,
healthy,
then-
you're better off with an HSA. It's the best tax savings, retirement savings going, you know what I mean? It's tax deferred in,
Does
tax
anybody
deferred
have
out.
any more questions on the page that we're on?
Oh, yeah.
Or anything to comment?
95, the 457 retirement, is that a match?
Yes.
Okay.
About 96. Is there anything we could cut out of that
I'm
one?
not sure what that one is. Can we just question that
It's the
one?
New Hampshire Municipal something.
John, you got a quick answer on line 96?
I think it's unemployment insurance, in which if you haven't had people that go off claim insurance, it's one of these, if you had layoffs or if you had, the one that often happens.
Well, good news, we
you
can't
have
find
somebody-
people to work here, so hey, how are we gonna lay them off?
Yeah,
Sorry, didn't mean to make light of that, but.
yeah.
But you have to have it though.
You often get people that you have to pay unemployment on, not because you let them go, they left you when you worked for somebody else, then that person let them go, but because you're a prior employee within the time period, you have to cover some of that person's unemployment.
Boy, what a great
I think
system
that's
that
what
is.
one But again, I'm not positive.
Those are really
Thank
weird
you.
number.
So, on 101, now, this is where I think the postage maybe should be higher.
The planning book planner, remember that number there,
Yeah, I agree with you, but we get the money back, but we
Right.
do need to budget it.
Yeah, so,
Bump it up 1,000? 2,000?
And it's
Even
already been cut by
25?
1,000.
I would just leave it the way it is here.
well, it's offset by revenue, I guess, so it doesn't, probably doesn't matter in the long run.
Well, it does matter because it shows your budget being overexpended by $1,400, just because you have the revenue, you can't directly offset it against the expense. I do think that's one that is too low.
Anybody else have any comments for our current page?
So what is the final, is it Becca's suggestion to increase it, or where are we at?
I think we're gonna leave it, or you wanna leave it?
I would increase it, but
I would leave it and let
You
the,
guys can
let the
talk
select
about it.
board figure it out.
select board can talk about it.
Which line item's that?
101,
That's what I thought, okay.
Maybe going back to what it was.
yeah, at least,
It looked too low to me, so.
alright.
So on that next page, 111, planning board, planning and legal services, that has been chronically underspent and not utilized, so.
Which line is that? I'm sorry.
111?
Sorry, thank you.
And I gotta say that right there, that is because the planning board and the members that we have on it have been on, this is not to toot their own horn or anything by others, but we have a lot of experience that sits on that board. Not because I've been on the planning board 6 years before I've got there now, and I'm on my second time, so technically 8 years of service, but our chair has been on there for 9-something years, somebody's been on there for 10-something years, so we don't actually go to see a lot of legal things, because
Cause of your
Great.
expertise.
Right.
That's great,
Good work.
seen pretty much
Experience.
most of everything that's
You are
coming in
the
front of us, so.
experts.
love that.
But so what do you wanna do with that, cut $500 or something?
Yeah, that's what I was suggesting. 500 off makes it 500.
But if
I
that
mean,
board
I'm in-
changes in the future,
I'm indifferent about
probably
it,
have to
think
come
we'd
back.
have to come back and look at that number.
I'm indifferent about that, I don't.
Cause we do on some certain things, like, and again, I'll just mention,
What line is this?
111.
111,
Okay.
Well, a perfect example would be a condominium association where we have to pay an attorney to review the docs. We get the money back from the developer, but we have to pay it out.
Pay it out first, right.
Apparently that doesn't happen based on this, or it's very possible that some of the other legal line is still carrying planning board stuff.
but for right now, we don't have any condominium develops or anything like coming in.
No.
They're just basic subdivisions right now. So right now, I don't see that being,
I had a, thank you, John. I had a question about line 115.
1.15.
Yes, sir. Or is she getting paid? a
so
different
the zoning
way,
secretary
or-
is the same as what we call the land use clerk. She will be, when the minutes come for a zoning board, since they only meet once a month, if that, she is the one that's there that's taking the minutes.
Okay,
So we separate that bill because she's doing a task for them, even though she's under the roof of the planning board, because the zoning and planning are basically call it the same hub. So it's just to separate the money that we know that so many hours are going towards that board to get it to decipher the
So are
pay.
they not being spent here now?
Yeah, my guess is they're not properly.
I don't even know the last time the zoning board actually met, if you ask me.
so can we knock that down?
It hasn't been apportioned this way, so everything's gone against the planning method.
Right, so,
So, but.
Even if we knock it down by
planning board
like-
Secretary.
Really?
Yep.
But
I
the
would item
salary-
7 for the year.
right, that's
In
Yeah, so
November.
it was a little
That was item
over
7,
budget.
yeah.
that's not very much.
It was a little,
So what do you want, what questions on that one?
That was the 115.
Yeah.
Yeah,
115.
115, why is it?
Was there not any money coming out of this line?
if it's all coming out of 99,
It's all going, yeah,
Should we just, should
planning board
it
secretary.
be better documented on here instead of,
I think probably the best thing to do is properly allocate it.
right,
that's what I mean.
right, 99 looks like it was overspent a little bit, so.
Right, yeah, it was.
So are we to the next
2
page? then?
grand too, you might take 400 with that.
So after, so we're past zoning then?
No, so we haven't
So it is that the
finished that one?
secretary should knock it down, or,
Yeah, we're not doing anything with it, we're just gonna try to better allocate it going forward, right?
Okay.
I think
I
that's,
think that's,
to try to make it balance out better with 99.
alright. Thank
Because
you.
I'd hate to have her.
No, I'm not trying to do
right,
that,
no.
but if it's not coming out of this line, let's put it in
We
the
were
line that it's
so
coming out of.
fortunate to
Right.
find.
Right.
I know.
That's why
Because she's working a
99 went
second
up.
job for
Yep.
the town that she said, I could
No,
use more work.
trust me, we
10%.
appreciate
She was
it.
able to get it on, which
It's
is
just-
a blessing.
it just
Better
needs to
seen in
get,
there.
it needs to get
That's
put
Well,
on
I'm
the
just
right
saying, that's
bucket.
one of those tough part-time jobs where nobody really wants to do it.
No, all we have a comment on is the fact
Right.
that you have lines that just say zero
Zeros
spending.
Yeah,
on
that's
her.
all.
Okay,
That's all we're
I'm good.
commenting on.
Next.
So the next page, I've said this before and I'll say it again. These all these abbreviations for the different buildings could use a rewrite. I don't know if it messes anything up with your budgeting software, but if we could get better abbreviations for things, because we have like
That's
THO.
familiar.
What they all are by now.
But some of them are confusing. So like, Town Hall old building, what's that?
That's the SAU office.
Office.
Okay, so if that's the, okay, so what is Town Hall, what is TH, what is TH?
Regular TH?
I see.
No, no.
I got,
So THOB is this building.
okay,
TH is,
No, this is community center.
yeah.
This is CC.
See, now we're getting, see how confusing this is? You got Town Hall old building, you got CC, Community Center, TH, I'm assuming is Town Hall, right?
In the notes, it says the CSAU.
The fact that no one explained this within 1 minute
no,
means
because
they're
the
not
part, see the
clear.
part-time maintenance person that we're looking here
SAU.
is for this freaking building here, the THOB, this building. I know that's what it's for.
So what is the community center then?
HVAC, alarm, rodent control, fire extinguisher.
It might be the same freaking thing.
I would just suggest not putting these as abbreviations and coming up with very clear words for each thing.
Yeah, because this, even the THOB dumpster, that's the dumpster that's sitting right back over there behind
Yeah.
the Dame school.
So I think
I
some
know
of
where all
these,
these things go for.
I think in some lines it's being called Town Hall Old Building, other times it's being called Community Center, and it's very confusing, and it would, just going forward, be nice to clarify these.
Names.
Thanks, John.
Like, there's only one CC here, right? That's what you're talking about.
No, there's CC Electric, CC Building Maintenance, CC Heat.
Yeah, if you go down this,
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
New fire station, old fire station.
Yeah, so the TH, when they say TH Town Hall, that's the original.
So we need a new name for that or something.
Well, it's, now it should be changed, oh, there you go. Change the old Town Hall to SAU.
SAU.
Just
Yeah.
Oh,
building
no,
one.
the SAU occupies a fraction of that
Right.
building.
Right, so call it, you know.
Why don't we
call
just
it
name the,
building
name the
one.
building after somebody, and then we can just write that name.
John Moran.
Yeah.
No, of all buildings, I don't want my name on that one.
I don't wanna put it on our budgets.
All right.
Actually, that's, but
Yeah,
you know, that's a
right.
good suggestion for us to talk about, fixed names on this building.
Thank you.
So the electric
Add building
rates,
names.
I think that it's reasonable for those to be up 50%. I think that's what we've all seen of our bills.
Yep.
But when we come down here to heat, so two
What
things
line
on,
are you on?
lines 148 to 155-ish, something like that. So I'm assuming, what are we using? Heating oil, propane?
Oil.
Okay, so heating oil, the prices have started to come down on that. I don't know if we need a 50% increase. I wrote down here that I would suggest that we reduce the proposed amount by 5%, and that can be, you could probably even go more, but I would just write that we should lower the thermostats.
Are we on a, okay.
Yeah, I'm,
Like a
I'm
group.
proposing the same 5% reduction to 148, 149, 151, 152, 153, 154, and 155.
148's already zero, so 5% off of that's still zero.
Sure.
Unless you want to get a -5.
149,
149 through 155.
149 to 155.
It's all the heat things. So I think we should look at what the thermostats are set for. I'm looking around the room. I see a lot of rolled up sleeves. I don't see a lot of wearing our outdoor coats. So obviously,
One's wearing a hat or gloves.
right.
Gloves on.
Do you want us to wear our coats and
You know,
Santa
the kids
Claus?
in Ukraine are wearing their outdoor coats
Think
all
that's
day long.
America?
we could get a campfire
So,
going.
All
All
right.
Smash
you know,
Bros.
So I put down as one of the notes for the board, 5% reduction.
I
Question.
think you could get a 5% reduction just based on the fact that the heating oil cost has gone down.
All right.
It was like almost $6, and I just looked, it was like $4.59 or something like that.
Let's stay there.
Price.
They'll take a look at that. They'll take a look at that.
Sure.
Thank you.
After the election, it's time to go up.
John, do you know what the thermostats are
page.
set to in here?
No?
Okay. Well, I've never been like freezing in
Rolling
this
right
building
along.
or any of the other ones.
It's all hot air.
Page. Are we going to the next page?
You know, people in town, you know, are
I think the
lowering their
thermostat's so old, you can't
thermostats.
even tell the temperature on it, so.
That's pretty good.
All right.
I had one at
Mine's down
148.
5 degrees
All right.
from last year.
The town hall heat, we're just leaving it at zero, since it's electric heat. But do we have a cost to winterize that building somewhere, if we're not gonna heat it?
Well, the SAU office is here.
The SAU is heating it, right?
On the, that being the old town hall over there.
Yeah.
We took out the whole heating system.
Okay.
So there is no heating system at all in that building.
Yeah.
The SAU is actually heated by, the wall
Yeah, they're mini split.
Mini splits is what
Oh,
we
heat
did.
pumps, that's great.
That's the way to go.
The SAU's heated, but
Heat and
the
AC.
town hall has none, because we took out the whole
There's nothing
system.
to winterize at this point?
Gotcha.
And
Well,
sorry,
there's nothing in it.
$1,800
There's no water, there's no,
It can't be.
it's
Yeah.
There's no bathroom?
Well, there is a bathroom.
an old
It's
wooden
an
structure.
In the heated portion.
The bathrooms
Yeah.
in the heated portion taken care of by the heat pump,
Handled,
so.
handled by the mini splits.
and I had a question on 144 Grange Electric. I haven't been in that building. Is that used for anything?
Yep, so
Okay.
you're gonna, here's the funny thing, and I was just story, and again, my mother is part of the Historical Society, and she actually opens the Grange, except she doesn't really get any visitors. I don't ask her why she does it, but she still does it anyways. But she opens the Grange up every last Sunday of the month, and I think there's one day maybe during the month when the school kids might come and so, but it's not really,
Yeah.
it's open, because they do open it to air it out, and they do turn on the lights, and they make sure, people can come in and see a lot of old artifacts from the town and stuff in it,
It's cool.
but it's
I love that.
Great, I'm gonna check it out, but I
Very,
was just
uh,
wondering if it was being used at all.
it is, and again, I get it, it's my mother, it's
I wanna
actually
go.
they're doing it, so.
I didn't go for that, so we couldn't use it because.
I didn't realize there was electric in that building.
158 Town Hall Old Building Dumpster, or we're here, that's this building?
That's this red one that sits outside.
Okay, that looks like it's chronically underspent.
Oh, see, THOB is other building,
Yeah,
Town Hall, it's other building?
Building.
so. If you
Okay.
look at the totals.
yeah, so I guess this is other
THOB
building.
is.
Again,
Alright.
we're gonna make a change to get that
Okay.
changed differently.
The dumpster line, it looks like it's around 2,800 each
But
year.
They have gone up, the tipping costs and,
Tipping costs have gone up a
Yeah.
ton.
for
Okay.
those stuff, so.
That one might actually be under at this point.
I mean, again, but we can't find anybody that wants to volunteer to take the trash here, to the dump every day,
Yeah.
because the dump's only open on through.
Yeah, you
So
cut that
it's
budget
just-
pretty good.
That's why we have to have a dumpster here.
I was just wondering on that
Nope,
one.
and I'm just here to,
Yep. Thank you, Jim.
anybody watching at home to throw out an answer at it.
All right, let's move on to the next page, if everyone's good with that. That was like one of the last lines.
So on the next one here, PD, 187 PD gasoline. This has a 50% increase written in here. I have looked at the gas prices chart, and this was prepared a few months ago. And since then, the gas prices have fallen considerably. So I would suggest that instead of a 50% increase, it'd be a 40% increase. That should cover it. So that would be a reduction of $1,600. The total amount would go from $24,000 to $22,400.
To line 187, you want to reduce it by $1,600.
Yes.
So a reduction of $1,600 to reflect only a 40% gasoline price increase.
Yes.
Okay.
And then on the next page, line 218.
I'm still on this one, sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry?
Quick question, the fire and rescue 203, what's the stipend?
What
What, in
that's
line-
That
next
is the
page.
next page.
There's the next page.
What am I looking at?
Well, 'cause our
That
numbers might have
is,
moved from this page to
Sorry,
this page, so.
I messed you up.
I believe,
Apologies.
and I've asked about this in the past. that's
Are we,
why-
are we on the next page now?
Yeah, I believe that stipend is for the volunteer people, that they
Yes.
add up essentially all the volunteering hours over the year, and then they pay it all out at the end of the year or something
Because
like that.
how that works for the fire department is so everybody's a volunteer. Now, everybody doesn't get the same because it's how much you volunteer. So obviously, if you volunteer more, the more calls you go to, the more extra you get to the ones that don't. And actually, at their annual meeting, it's kind of funny how they do it, but they actually show everybody of what they did and actually call out everybody who's actually doing it. That's part of the group, who's been showing, who hasn't been showing, and
Yep.
again, because we'd rather see this number get paid because it's cheaper than
Yep.
hiring even more staff than, the volunteers, because they're not getting,
Well, we got
Same way.
full-time now though, right?
yes,
Or
but that's only
full-time.
two. So you got one running the truck that's going, you got that guy sitting in the truck who's there, but you still need the other guys to come to do all the other stuff, so, but at least you get two on contact, and they are actually certified EMTs
Yeah, they do
and they're
double duty,
firefighters,
yeah.
so If it's a medical emergency, they can be there for that, and they can be there for a fire, so they're covering two things by having those full-time staff.
So line 218, gasoline and diesel.
Yeah.
Hold on
Can I-
just a
Can I go
second.
back to 195 for a minute?
Yep.
So the pistol permit, and it says offsetting revenue. So isn't it, I thought it was all just revenue, no expense on that.
There might be a time cost in researching or like processing them or something like that.
We have a zero on that number.
Yeah,
Well, right, it's been zero
Isn't that good?
budgeted, but it's got actuals.
I mean, there might be like
That's why
a,
I'm questioning is what the
Because we're not
actuals are.
budgeting for it.
We're not budgeting for something that,
Good question.
yeah, I mean, that's, because my understanding, it's like, the people applying for them pay a fee.
yeah, it's like $10.
Yeah, right, exactly, it's a fee, but, and it's just revenue.
Yeah.
So,
But they gotta pay somebody to go through the stack of applications every week
then we're
probably or
not.
something.
But we're not
then we should be
budgeting for
budgeting
it, that's
for
what
it.
we're saying.
All right, well, let's put a question mark and we'll ask
Right,
Fawn.
exactly, that's what I'm doing.
I think we've asked about that in years past.
Yeah, and it's just kind of,
Yeah.
All right,
So
next page.
218 gasoline and diesel for the fire and rescue. They have 10,000, which is a 66% increase. I would suggest that we lower that by 1,000 to 9,000. Again, prices have fallen, not as much as gasoline. The diesel's still
Yeah, diesel's
fairly
still
high,
up there,
but
yeah.
it has come down a little bit. And I know that some of that is gasoline. So I think that that would still be a 50% increase.
So line 218?
Yeah, 218.
218.
I'm suggesting reduce by 1,000 to 9,000.
Even though we've already spent 10 this year,
Yeah, but this is the year when diesel was like $6-7, right?
but.
So right now it's like $5.20. Yeah.
Again,
It's been so
the
volatile.
BOS might come back and say that number is gonna
Yeah.
be 250 instead of
Sure.
1,000.
That's, well, it's just a suggestion.
Yep. Backing up a little bit to 196, the PD Cruiser, the note says no trade-in.
Yeah, so what they're
Yeah.
doing is they want to increase the number of cruisers. So what they're doing is
They
they
have a
buy one
spare.
every year,
Yeah.
but instead of
Oh, so
turning
this
the last one in, they're going to keep them for one extra year.
Utilize it.
They only get like, what, 4,000, the chief was saying?
Yeah.
Not much for trade-in, it's
They
better
weren't
off
gonna get
having
much at
spare.
all on a trade-in, and it
No.
seems
Well,
to
I
make
was
sense
almost
that we
gonna
hang on
suggest
to it.
we keep it around as an
You couldn't even
extra
buy something
city
that, like-
vehicle or
Yeah, I
building
suggested
inspector
just giving it to the
or something
highway
like
department.
that.
But just so you know, when we do go next year to get another one, and we do have that one for trade-in, if somebody's looking for it, and they wanna pay over the trade-in value for the town of Nottingham, we could, you know, cause if the trade-in problem is this, it's a Ford Explorer, it's four-wheel drive.
Yep.
Well,
Come with lights?
Well, no, it's not good. It's not good. It's got some.
I still got the blues
You,
left.
you go around proudly seeing the back shadow of Nottingham somewhere on there, you know?
It'd be good for a new
Better than a
kid
license plate.
getting their license, you know what I mean?
I
I'm
think,
just saying, if we, you
Alright.
know, it could
It's
be
true though,
publicly
good
sold.
vehicle.
so if the
Good
fire, if
vehicle.
the highway department doesn't get their new truck that they keep trying to get, we asked Sean and he said, well, it'd be good to have something like that to haul around like a chainsaw and stuff. And that, one of these old police SUVs would be great for the highway department when they just have to move
Well,
smaller
cause Sean
equipment.
is using one of the old blue SUVs now.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
pretty.
Just to understand though, the CIP truck is not the truck that a
Right.
cruiser would replace.
Correct.
The CIP truck
Yeah.
is a,
I know, but when we asked him about that, a lot of the potential uses were things that you could do with an SUV. Anyways, we're getting off
Yeah.
topic.
Okay.
Let's go back to the budget.
Yep.
So that was 218, so we're down going anywhere else on that
Yeah, are we
page?
anywhere else on this page?
Nope.
I think it looks good.
So 259 highway salary overtime. I would suggest taking that from 25,000 down 2,000 to 23,000. That's still a 15% increase, which is in line with what the salary number is going up.
Okay.
And I think that we should encourage them to plan better to reduce overtime incidents or reduce the number of hours.
So we're taking off
We're supposed to plan the snowstorm.
$2 grand?
I would
$2,000,
just have them
yeah.
look at it. Well, yeah.
Well, also, if you
Tom
look
said.
at,
We're
if you,
159.
if you look at the actuals are 20,000,
Let me
22,000.
tell you,
I know, but it all depends on.
So we did
the
just also,
plowing and
again, it
stuff.
doesn't, we're down a highway guy,
All right.
so not
that
the
makes
best
it
thing
good.
for us. Don't be congratulating him, but
No,
it's.
I know, but.
Aren't we down two?
I think we're just down
hired
one.
today.
Oh, so we're back?
Yay.
Okay, I didn't know about that.
We had one we hired, the first storm on the gravel roads, he walked away. He'd been used to plowing in Stoneham, Mass, I think it was. And
Oh,
He
he's
got on
still in
those
the mess.
roads and he just said, "No, this is not for me," and he never came back for the second shift.
Go back to
But we
Massachusetts.
hired him today, so.
Okay.
Flatlanders.
What's happening with I tell you, overtime, they're gonna put it in this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, I would actually recommend leaving that one alone.
I would too, but
Because it's so hard to predict.
Didn't he say that was based on double time and a half
You said double
overtime?
time
Yeah.
after 40. Is that, are we gonna lose highway guys? If we say, you know, after 40 you get time and a half, and then after 60 you get double time?
Yeah, that's
more
us-
standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more standard. Or their shift though, anything over 8 time and a half for the first 4 and then double. I mean, that's standard
So
too.
40 over is double.
I just
think
hate,
Sean
I just
said
hate
when he
messing
was
with it,
here.
you know, if we
Right.
don't
We
mess
don't wanna
with
lose
salaries.
employees over
Right,
it,
exactly,
but-
that's what I mean.
I thought you said double time and a half.
60 over is double time and a half?
I'm just wondering why, if the salaries are going up 16%, why is the overtime going up 25%? Shouldn't it go up about the same?
Same.
Well,
it's
it's
the same
also
point you
too,
brought up
for the
last
fact
year,
that, just an explanation, that is all the new employees that we're hiring now are all CDL drivers now. So before, we used to be able to get away with the guy that really didn't, you know,
Yeah.
we have it part of
Right.
our
Just one
conditions
person
that
qualified to run the big truck.
we're getting everybody that's qualified to run everything.
And they cost
So
money.
those people cost more money because
And that's-
CDLB driver even now is worth quite a bit of money to any business.
And John, we're seeing that with the 16% increase in the
Yeah,
salary,
I'm
right?
just throwing it out there.
So that's why I'm wondering,
it's
shouldn't it be about a 16% increase in the overtime too? Cause that rate's gonna go up. Yeah, but it's a percentage
So do
thing.
you want to raise that number?
No, I wanted to
Yeah.
make it 23,000.
I gotta say, I wrote that
I just
down.
have a question. I'm
Take off
getting
the
a
two,
question
but I say,
mark.
okay.
All right,
Okay,
let's
um,
move on.
I mean, I heard they wanted clarification on the time and a half of double time.
I wrote that.
Also want to reduce the line or something, was that?
Just take a look at it for us, please.
Sure. Okay.
We did have a question about reducing it $2,000.
So 261, highway mowing and vegetation control. I know that had already been cut a bit by the select board. I would like to further cut it by $5,000 to $15,000. So
Love it. Say that again. 261?
261, highway mowing and vegetation control, cutting it to $15,000. That's a reduction of $5,000. My recommendation is, we had talked to Sean about this, and he said that this is used for mowing the sides of the roads and also for knotweed, Japanese knotweed control. And I believe that the Japanese knotweed is an invasive species, and that should fall under the invasive species spending for the town. So I think that there's a diverse amount of invasive species in the town, right? It's not just milfoil in the lake. We have Japanese knotwood. It's all over town, and I think we need a little bit of equity in what invasive species are controlled here. So I would encourage them to use the invasive species warrant article money if they need to control the Japanese knotweed. So that wouldn't have to be spent out of there. And also the mowing should be done primarily for safety. So making sure that it's visible at intersections and things like that, not necessarily for aesthetic purposes.
So are you suggesting that you move this money to the other fund?
No, I'm suggesting that that other fund be used for things that are not just milfoil.
I'm okay with leaving it at 20,000. I mean, personally, I think it's fine, the proposed budget. I know what it's like to mow out there. I think it's fine, the way
The
it is,
thing
but
is,
I
if we
agree.
if we don't cut every year, things grow. And things that aren't
Yeah, things,
problem
it just gets harder to
visibility,
maintain whenever you do address it.
Visibility.
Well, and that's why we're saying to
How can you
make
cut
sure
every
that we're
year, though?
mowing for safety
Cut every year, I
reasons
thought
and
it was
Right, so
every
that's
other.
my point,
Yeah.
is only cutting certain areas for
Certain
safety
places, yeah.
reasons this
Right.
year, and then letting that stand for several years, suddenly you have big bushy things that
Yeah.
are
I-
sticking
yes.
out in the road.
Yes,
that's
so I think
why we're
the real
discussing it.
question here is, does invasive species control belong under the highway mowing line? Or should it be with the rest of the invasive species control in
That's what I'm
town?
fine with, but
Yeah.
just
Okay.
the mowing thing,
Yep.
we need to be doing.
think we
all
agree
roads
that
the
we
way
need to
we're-
mow
I
for
think the
safety and
way we mow
visibility.
them Now
Yeah.
is the way it's best for safety.
Right.
Because it keeps things down all the time.
I agree.
I think the problem you have with trying to take it out of the invasive species is that has been viewed as milfoil, and now suddenly start taking money from that lake money to use on the roadside, I think.
But it's not lake money, it's invasive species money, and we need to be inclusive of other invasive species in town that affect more people than just lake people. Knotweed is cropping up all over town.
That's true.
It's
Makes
not,
sense.
it's not just lake
So we're
money,
just-
but I believe it is water species.
So any of this milfoil
But
that
he's
you're
not putting
talking
any
about.
extra money in it.
No, 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 but I'm
Right,
saying, so what's gonna
exactly.
happen is the Lake Association, who's getting this money, and that's actually taking a lot of the donated money from the people, are gonna say, where are we gonna spend it on the milfoil? So when the town beach area gets full and you can't swim there anymore, the Lake Association, because if it's not getting any source of town, is not gonna use our resources, excuse me, their resources, their divers, to go bother even, take care of that part of the lake. They're gonna focus on the residents' homes. So just, so you know, they've been really good now of going everywhere, searching everywhere, and spreading that, the divers out and doing everything, you know, cause they wanna take care of the beach too. But that's a big shallow area.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of potential for that to explode with milfoil, cause when the lake drains, it goes right through there, so any fragments are going right over there. But remember, when you cut their things, they're gonna have to make cuts of where they wanna go.
Yep.
And they're gonna go for the residents. And the places like that where the town people come use, might become unusable.
Yep. All right, well,
Cause you can't tell them
don't-
what to do.
no
I'm
pun
just-
intended, but we should not get back into the weeds on this one.
Yeah, let's.
Right, okay, but I'm just trying to, for your mind thought of how this goes on, what could be the future.
Yeah.
Again, how will they do it? I'm not on that board, I don't, I'm just telling you that that's something where, to future look at what we're doing today, what could be a possible effect of. in the future.
Understood.
Yep.
Just a point of clarification, John, you said we can't tell them what to do with it. So if the town is giving money to the Lake Association, can't we direct how they, where they direct their efforts?
They're not, the majority of the money is still coming from Lake Association, our PLA, the people that donate into it.
And they
Like,
do
there's
it-
residents on Lake that donate thousands of dollars into
It's
it
just been a
and stuff like
matching
this.
amount to
Right,
get a grant, that's all that the town has put into it.
right, so
I
we
say they
use
do a
that in
great
order to get
job,
more
it's just
money.
murky, cause now the town gives them money and then the town has no direction how they spend that money.
But if the town, I'm saying, by cutting and cutting, the town not giving us money, and let's say they raise themselves $15,000 and the town only puts in $2,500.
They're gonna stay where they
They're gonna
want.
be choosy
They're gonna-
about
they can-
what
they
what
can
they
be
do and
choosy,
where
'cause
they
remember
do
those-
it, cause it's their
They
money they
already right now
raised.
put in probably 10 times what the town.
Exactly.
Sure.
Right. Well, if that becomes a problem like you're predicting,
We can
then
address
we
it.
can address
Can
it.
address it
All
then.
right. I would
Again,
like
I
to-
just made stars and notes on that, whether, that might not even get to the 5, that might
Yeah.
not even come off, it's just a suggestion.
Sure, sure. I would like to move on to 267 highway culverts.
Can I just quick thing, I'm back on 244. I think when the fire chief was here, he was looking at that line, and he was surprised, like, oh, it looks like they
it
cut
looks
my
like it went
salary.
back up.
It looks like it's been rectified, like his,
That was part of his salary, I thought.
I just remember fire chief saying like, oh, I got a pay
pay
cut this
cut,
year.
Yeah, it's
I
been
wasn't
fixed.
aware.
I just wanna make sure that that had gotten fixed,
Yep, okay.
cause his salary looks the same in 244 and then back into
204.
Oh,
204,
right, yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
Okay.
So 267 highway culverts. We have 5,000 budgeted. There's been spending of about around 4,000 a year. So I'm suggesting that we lower it $500 to $4,500 total. Just because it's been underspent and maybe that the culvert work is one of the places that you could use some of the ARPA money, the COVID relief money, since it's for infrastructure.
We're not gonna
I
have
think.
any left, but that's okay.
Sure.
We'll talk about that later. 260 what, 7?
267.
67.
Cut $500.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
And then 273, highway fuel. I am wondering if we can change that from 60,000 to 55,000. This year they've spent 49,000 during all these high gas prices. Prices are falling, so that would, if we cut it $5,000 to $55,000, that is 12% more than the actuals from this year when we saw the big spike in gas and diesel prices. So I think that's a reasonable change there.
All right, next page.
Oh, yeah, so next page, at the very top, 275, highway engineering and consulting. We have 20,000 in there proposed. Previous spending has been about 8,000 to 15,000. I would suggest that we just lower that down to 15,000. or is that what I have? Yeah, so take off 5,000, take it down to 15,000, that's in line with what was spent this year, and is almost double what we spent the previous year. Unless there's some big engineering,
275.
unless there's some big new engineering project that I don't know about.
The reason why this went up is because Sean is concerned that due to the new town roads that surround the lake and around any of those, getting DES approvals and stuff like this, that you have to hire an engineer consultant to go through all those, even though before we just rip up the road, throw a thing in there and put it back in.
Yeah.
And not call it anything, but to be more code or more right, you know, with doing that, you know, he was gonna get consulting on just to, even though it's a simple job, but just to make sure that we dot our i's and not get in any trouble for doing something, because the, you know, the state has regulations where anything 200 feet back, you have to get a permit for 100 feet back, and a lot of these roads are within that range, so it was more for justification, but
Alright.
we can run that same number. Again, that might come to, maybe we'll take off $2,000 when
Yeah,
it comes to
that
the
just
board.
looked like a spot where you might be able to shave a bit off.
fine.
And then the very next line, the highway drug testing, that is underspent every year. It's got 500 or 400 budgeted, and then it was spending
but it's
122, 176.
It's random though, you know, I mean, you get an accident, usually you go for a drug test, you
Yeah,
know.
I'm just
That's what we
wondering.
have, we have
Right,
random
well,
drug
well,
tests.
That is the reason for it.
What makes it random that, are we not getting as many calls from it, or?
Well, if you,
We're also
well, it depends,
hiring
if someone
more
thinks
CPS,
someo's under influence,
so they'll
they go
have to
for
get
random.
tested more
If
frequently.
you get,
Yeah,
we get an
and-
accident at work, we're automatically gotta go for a random.
yep.
And then we have FA where they just pick your number out of the lottery, if you go, you have to go, you know what I mean?
Alright. I was just wondering if we could knock 100 off there. That's not a big deal, just because it was underspent in the past.
Keeps people on their toes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, for example, Matthew Judon and the Patriots are complaining because he's running to 3 in a row, I think it is, and he's saying it's not random. Well, if you flip a coin, sometimes you'll get 3 in a row that are heads, you know? And this with the drug testing on the drivers, since I've been there, I don't think we've had to send anyone, but we could end up sending one every month.
For
Right,
sure.
Yeah, some people, sometimes I have it once a year and then you might not get it for 5-6 years.
That's right.
Right, so is
I mean,
it
it's
drawn, is the random
is.
chosen by the state or something, or?
Chosen by the consortium that we're a member
Okay,
of.
all right,
Right.
okay,
Alright.
it's not just random in town.
Alright.
I think that's good. We'll take $200 off that, or what?
I don't even, if people think that's a bad
Leave it
idea,
on
I
there,
don't
then-
care.
Then we can leave it on there, I don't.
I was suggesting 200, but
I don't care how
if it
it's
sounds
done,
like
so.
it's necessary, whatever.
Do we need to take, what about miscellaneous? That's not, it's been 200 and not spent.
You wanna leave
Take it down to a dollar.
I'm good with a buck.
All right, so minus line
277.
277,
199.
199.
How much?
$199.
I have a question about, the animal control. I've asked this like 2 years ago. How does this work? I mean,
What line are you on?
299 animal control salary.
Is there anything in between there? Anybody have?
No.
Nope.
Are we like contracting with someone for like
animal
roadkill
control
pickup? Is that what
salary?
that is?
So,
We have a person.
Yeah, it does.
right, but so we had two, now that's a question, that's a good line, because I remember, we had two people that we had. One, we had a guy that we were contracted with, and it was like, all right, this is what your things. Then we had another girl that was being paid as she went out and did it. But I think that salary, where it goes, is that number 3,500?
Yeah.
Is that we're paying, not the contractor guy anymore, because then we got rid of it, and we're just giving it to the girl who's going out all the time,
Yeah.
Bacon, because there is quite a bit of,
I'm sure.
It's a rural area.
there's quite a bit of call.
All right.
And I think she's very generous where that, you see the number always says spent,
Yeah.
that she's probably putting in even more than what she's doing for, but you know, she's a town resident, stuff like this, so probably a good thank you very much if
Yeah.
she's not.
Does
charging
animal
us.
control do anything other than roadkill pickup?
They don't pick up road.
We don't have like a dog catcher or something.
Yeah,
She's
my
the
dog
dog catcher, she's
All right.
the,
Any problem with an animal?
My cow's
Alive
got
or
out.
dead, right? All right.
Cows, yeah, the cows at Marston, right?
Yeah.
Did she come for them?
We had her in the, trying to trap a, critter here in the.
a raccoon or whatever, she's.
Okay. All right.
Love it.
Yeah, she's, very valuable for what she does, for what she gets paid.
Awesome.
Great.
Nobody else wants.
Alright, next page.
Next page, general assistance, utilities assistance, line 306. We have a 166.7% increase here. John, are we getting?
That is because we were expecting that for fuel costs.
So have we gotten any requests for help
Well, there's
on
fuel
that?
assistance too, but you see 1,000, we jumped that up 3.
Right, so I have the same questions on each of these. Are we getting
Utilities is, I
requests
think,
from help?
utilities, I think, is for the lights.
Yes.
People and stuff like that.
Yes. Are we getting new requests for help already?
Yes.
I don't see that personally, so.
Sources.
Yeah.
So,
We're kind of the last resort, right? There's like state
Right,
funds and
right,
stuff,
like-
yeah.
Well, for example, there was a case where somebody or other had $2,000 in electric bills that they were behind, and our welfare director worked out, so I think we paid 200 and somebody else paid 18, so, I mean, that's how she really works well at saving money.
Yep, so if we want to shave off some money, I would suggest making both 306 and 307, 3,000 even. That's a 100% increase in utilities assistance, and that's a 200% increase in fuel assistance. Again, the heating oil prices are starting to come down a little bit, so that's fortunate.
So you wanna, just give me, what's the number with 306? How much you wanna take off 306?
1,000 off
$4,000,
306
so
and
you wanna keep
1,000
it
off
to
307.
1,000 off each, thank you.
And then 311 GA miscellaneous. That was the one that rec hardships were in, and I believe that was $11,000 in 2022. That was for the rec hardship summer thing. So looking at the 2022 actuals of 11,340, if 11,000 was rec, that means only 340 was paid out last year for non-rec stuff, is my guess. So,
It varies a lot. If you look in 21, we spent out over 5,000 in the line.
right, but was that the rec hardships and summer things as well?
I
No?
don't think so.
Okay.
I think last year was the only year they've done it.
All right, well, my suggestion was just to take that from 5,000 to 3,000, unless someone wants to elucidate me with what's covered under that. Because it seems like we moved the rec stuff out of this, and then just didn't reduce it enough.
But the rec stuff wasn't in 21, right? And
But it was
21
in,
5,000.
yeah, but it was in the 2022, so the
Yes.
2022 actuals is almost entirely the rec hardship stuff.
But they had already overexpended that line, so how were they gonna spend more money?
Kinda hard when it's labeled
It's-
miscellaneous too.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, that's the problem. If I don't think that we should have a lot of stuff in miscellaneous, because it's hard to.
Right, I agree.
It leads to things like this where I go, well, I
But
don't know
then
what it is.
it's
Yeah.
high
So
dollar
why,
amounts.
why is the miscellaneous bigger than everything else?
Right. So I would say that we just lower that to $3,000, and then if someone says, oh, no, that's gonna affect something in particular, then
Yeah, I
the
don't
select
want it
board
to
can
affect
consider
the
that,
rec,
but
for sure.
Maybe
let's
question
not have a
Question
huge
that.
miscellaneous
We'll
line.
question that.
what the intended or anticipated uses.
That would be great.
Then the next section, which is the social services section, the 315, the Lamprey Health, and the 324, the SNS Community ones, those are much higher than all of the other ones at 4,500 and 5,500. If we need to shave off some money, I would suggest lowering each of those by $500 as a temporary equity adjustment, just because they're so much higher than the rest of the services in here.
So
And then,
315, take $500 off?
315 and 324, just 500 off each of those. And then we can revisit that next year if we're not up
I think
against a
they're
tax
based
cap.
on how much Nottingham
Uses their
uses, so I would
services?
disagree with that, because I
Right.
think those are, Lamprey Healthcare in particular is,
Well, if it's based on how much we use, how come it's the exact same amount every year?
because there's probably a max that they ask for, and you want them to ask for more?
Oh, I'm just,
If you notice on all these, the amount that's in there
Yeah.
always gets taken the
Yeah,
full
yeah, yeah.
amount.
which,
Because none of these services
Right.
that are asking for money, of course, are gonna take everything we give them.
sure, but that to me says no one's looked at these numbers, and just when I'm trying to shave the budget down a little bit, I noticed that
Tom,
two of
you
these
know,
are much higher than the rest,
There's
so,
supposed to be a request for each one of these.
yeah, and I think we'll probably be getting those. All right, so,
John,
We're going
did you
to-
have a
315 and 324.
Yes,
Just a suggestion.
yep. And actually, it sounds like other people had more cuts that I didn't have, so
For
we
sure.
probably don't even need all of these,
Right.
but these are
Right.
identified
Just ones that you
possibilities,
identified.
yeah.
No, I'm
Um,
good, I'm,
No, yes.
give it all, so.
So moving on
Next
to,
So I guess I have a question on the rec salaries. A
Yep.
lot of it got cut out. Did some of that move to rec revolving, or where did
Yes.
all that go?
Good, that's what it did.
and also I think the lifeguard stuff's just out, right? Because we
Rec
can't get them
revolving
or
gonna
anything,
cover all
right?
that?
Yeah.
Revolving.
I thought there was like
Yeah,
300,000 in
Is it
there,
gonna
right?
cover it?
Yep.
We don't believe we'll be able to hire them.
So,
Wait, what?
the, trying to find lifeguards,
Oh,
Impossible.
so, and again, it'd be nice to find a part-time lifeguard, just, but, you know, if we find a lifeguard down there, I mean, that's gonna open up a lot of possibilities for the rec, but, again, you know, are we really gonna find a full-time lifeguard there? Or, you know, how much are we gonna pay?
right.
It's lifeguards everywhere. If you look at this, I mean, you'll talk to the city of Manchester, they can't even open all their pools because they can't find enough people there to go
Lifeguard.
lifeguard, so
Luckily,
it's.
one of our pools broke this year, so that
So-
was.
There you go, there you go.
So the next line, line 333, overtime, rec overtime, I would suggest cutting this to 0. There should not be any overtime necessary for rec employees. There's no critical projects that are critical to the services of this town. The rec employees should plan their activities and things better to avoid having to expend overtime.
Or it could come out of rec revolving.
Or, yep, or out of rec revolving.
Yeah, I don't
Alright.
disagree with that.
So
Well, you
we're
cutting
gonna
that out
do, that's going back
2,000?
to $1.
No, I'd say take it to 0, because it just shouldn't be a thing.
I
There
was-
shouldn't be, it's not a critical service of the town, and so it should be better managed.
Childcare is not a critical service, because that's part of what.
That's called parenting.
Yeah, that's the parent's responsibility.
Right, but if the parent doesn't show up, the rec person's gonna have to stay overtime.
That is true.
Well, they can pull it from their
But the
revolving.
parent, but
Yeah.
the parent pays that extra fee because we had to do it sometimes, you know what I mean? You couldn't make it there out of work.
You can
We had to
charge
pay
it.
it,
You can
yeah.
get revenue.
And they do that for daycare too, all board, same thing. We were being charged if you run late or whatever. The parent pays for it,
Right, but.
you
you
know?
have to
It's
run it.
responsibilities of the parent.
Well, I'm fine with
He's talking
taking it
about
to,
salary.
I'm fine if you wanna take it to $1. I would just eliminate the line entirely,
Or
just to
they're short-staffed
discourage
and
that.
Right.
need to work overtime.
Right, that's why I hate to take away from the rec.
Right, but
I
if
mean,
you're
we consider it
short-staffed, then you
crazy.
just stop doing certain programs, right?
Right, the
Yeah.
childcare.
I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe if that's a last resort to look at it, but if we
You know
can.
what, I'm
Usually
gonna
the
look at
parents
this.
pay for it.
I'm gonna put
I mean,
that,
it's so-
and I'll
it's-
also put maybe cutting just $500.
Okay,
So at least something maybe get cut out of
Compromise.
there, but
I like
we're
it.
looking at where that
that
works.
sounds good to me.
And then 2 lines down, 335, recreational dues and conferences.
So what are you reducing it?
Again, on line 333, was the final decision to take out $1,000?
No, it's gonna be discussed
Discussed.
Okay.
by the BOS, but I got a note in there for us to discuss of either going to 0 or maybe minimally cutting to $500. Something coming off that number. That's for us, we'll figure that.
Sure.
But,
I mean,
no.
actuals have been, $600 and $70,
Right.
so.
Right, again, that's why,
Right.
noted that
Right,
we'll,
it's not-
I think
Right.
Courtney is definitely a fan of Trump's big ask here, because she came in with like a 40% increase, so some of these have to be looked at. The recreational dues and conferences, just kind of in what I just said, I think that this should be lowered. They're asking for $2,000. I would say we lower it by $800 to $1,200. So they should probably reduce what they want to do as far as conference attendances and associated travel back to the 2021 levels where it was around $1,100. I think it's, they mark in here, well, they want to go to, multiple
Yeah.
conferences. I don't know if X3 means 3 people going to the conference or that
Probably
there's
times
3
3.
conferences a year. Either way, this is 6 conference
3 people.
attendances, and what this is justified in here is that, they get networking opportunities. And I think that this, should be reduced. This is a dubious benefit to the townspeople.
Professional development.
I would disagree on this
I
one.
disagree as well.
I mean, ignorance gets you somewhere, but education is important.
Right.
I mean, it's even under budgeted compared to what 2022 was, so I'm okay with keeping.
I'm gonna bring that to the board as
Sure.
a question mark.
I also suspect that some of these conferences are also offering hybrid stuff, so if they can attend it virtually, they can obtain the educational portion of it.
You don't get anywhere near as much out of hybrid as you do in person.
Sure, but it also doesn't cost the town thousands of dollars.
You gotta find thousands of dollars somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Well, that's
so-
what we're doing here.
Fired.
So we
That's
can,
what we're doing here.
if you look back to 2021,
Yep.
they had $800 budgeted, they spent $1,100, and that was
We
sufficient.
will talk about it. We will, the board will talk about it. It's right here.
I would just
Line
recommend,
35, something.
I would
Question.
recommend taking as much out of moving as much rec to rec revolving as possible.
And that's a general
Makes
comment
sense.
for all the rec stuff. If they want to go to extra conferences, use the rec fund.
Right.
Right.
Want more money in the rec
They
fund,
could probably
increase the
offset it by
fees.
just charging people more money.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's all.
And,
It's still a good deal.
and I'll note that we
All
ran
time.
the
It's still a
numbers
good
when
deal.
the department heads were here, and if they raised the fees for programs by 50%, the entire rec department would be
But you compare
self-funded.
that to everything
And
else.
that's with
it's
the
still better.
40%
You know,
increase
it's
that
more
they're
expensive
asking.
now, but everything else
We're
around.
moving on the
Animals
budget.
is way more expensive.
Where are we?
336.
335.
No, we're at 336, recreation training.
But I didn't get to do 335.
We just did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we just did.
Those dues and
There's
conferences.
two 335s if you look in here.
Oh, yeah.
What the heck?
It's supposed, the second
337.
335
Oh,
is supposed
well,
to be
before we go to the second 335, I'd like to talk about 336.
Well, we know it's 337, so we'll just.
Exactly.
Rec training, this was in here that they wanted to train lifeguards for $1,000. So I would say that we can cut it at least by $1,000. And they have not used their training money in the last few years, so I would say you can just cut this out.
Probably was a little training.
Well, I don't know, but, you know, they haven't spent their money, and that's kind of the way it works with a government budget. If you don't spend your money, you lose it, so.
How government budget works, they work in budget.
Just to have it spent, I mean, that's the flip side of what you're saying.
Right, but they're also asking for a 114% increase in this line that they haven't used.
I agree, you take out
Yep.
the training money for lifeguards, but training money is important. Again,
Yeah.
like I said, education is important, having
I agree
staff
with the
that know
lifeguard
what they're
training.
doing is important.
And
Right,
again,
but-
John, before,
Just a
not to,
suggestion.
I mean, got what you're saying is that we're gonna have a discussion with the board from everything what we're talking about tonight.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a discussion of what we think when we come back with what they're doing.
Also, I think
Tonight's a
we,
gathering information
Yeah.
night for,
also with the director of rec getting $60,000 a year, I'm assuming that means that she has a substantial education in this field already. So it's probably a lot of education baked in there to, you know, have supplemented with multiple conference attendances and training lines. Sorry, on to 335 too.
Where would we take 336 down $800 back to 700?
that's, I actually wrote $800 for the question mark, so.
Awesome. Thank you.
I think we're on the same on that,
All
thank
right,
you.
we move on to 337. Is that what y'all wanted to talk about?
No, we need 335.
Well, the
Well,
second
yeah,
335,
if we're
which is
gonna rename
actually
it.
337.
All right, 337.
I think the mowing and the fertilizing cost at Marston is something that the town, like, obviously, we're looking for hundreds of dollars here and there.
Yeah.
Maybe that could be funded by donations, or maybe the rec department could do like a road race and raise that fund somewhere else, but I think we could, I mean, the budget was hovering around 12,000, and now they're proposed up to 25, so I think we could take a good $10,000 off of that.
I agree, and
Mowing and fertilizing, and they could hopefully make it up with private donations.
I agree, and also, you know,
raising-
That's a good idea.
we were told many times that the Marsden project was gonna be a lot of voluntarily funded stuff.
Very
And so
expensive.
one thing that I thought is, since
Got
it
paved,
sounds
didn't
like
it?
a lot of this
Paved?
increase is
Morrison
fields,
property didn't get
baseball
paved?
field stuff there.
Paved it?
So I think it makes sense to reach out
That
to
get
the
paved.
big users like NYA and stuff like that and ask them to contribute to the field maintenance costs and seeding and maintenance and stuff like that. So, I mean, I had down here, I don't know what to cut, but an easy thing to do would be to reduce this to a 4% increase over last year's budget, which would be $22,880. So that's a $2,120 cut.
Are we
to
on
the
line
proposed line.
237?
Yes.
He said 10 grand, you're saying 2,500.
10 grand. We've been.
I like his idea better,
We've
but
been nickel and diming the whole budget, like
No,
we have to
I,
find
again,
some money.
I literally wrote down 10,000, find fundraising, NYA, raise costs.
Yeah.
All right,
So we stick with that.
Road race.
all right.
I like
So you're
his idea.
reducing
I'm
it to
just,
10,000, or you're reducing it by 10,000?
By
By
10,000.
10,000.
these are,
15.
yeah,
15,000.
and these are ideas for John and the board to consider.
It's
Yeah.
not
And-
anything set in stone.
And if they don't like, if that is just a, you know, an unworkable suggestion, then, you know, doing 22,800, that is a 4% increase over last year's budget, which itself was underspent by 6,000. So, you know, if,
Awesome.
it's pretty easy to justify a
Yeah,
$2,000
there's gonna
cut.
be something, yeah.
All right, 338.
338, rec equipment, maintenance and supply. I have cutting $400 off that, getting it down to $3,000. I would think they can use the rec fund for this. And also they can, I know that as part of this was repairing damage to the storyboard thing, so it's my understanding that the people who vandalized that got caught, so we should seek restitution from them. And I believe we were told that the bandstand repairs were canceled, so I would keep this down around 3,000, which is almost double the 2021 actuals. So again, that's just reducing that line by $400.
All right, next page.
340. 340 is rec programs, so they're requesting a 21% increase. I suggest keeping this flat at $11,000. That's a reduction of $2,300. When we're up against this tax cap, it is not the time to expand spending by 21%. Again, they can use the rec revolving fund to support these programs. I think that would be one of the most appropriate places to use it.
The rec revolving fund is supposed to support fee-based programs, and these are all the ones they don't charge fees for.
Right, well, they don't, it's essentially a nonprofit, so they can collect their profit and then use it to subsidize free programs.
So would you wanna go on that one again?
I would like to reduce it by $2,300 to $11,000.
So keep it the way it was, okay?
Yep, keeping it flat.
Flat.
Maybe by 300, just my opinion. Raise it a little bit.
Well, the reason why is that, when we met with Courtney on this, just to give you the things.
Yeah.
The percentage, and I don't have the percentage number on there, but the amount of community activity that people have been getting involved with has grown so much, like popularity.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
one of the things that they had
Well,
out
after
here,
COVID, everybody
they
wants
didn't
to come
expect this, and like 400 people showed up with their kids.
Right, but
They were expecting maybe like right, it was just, it was huge, and they, you know, so this is, again, I'm just telling you why the number
Sure.
is, just for your own information.
Thank you.
So she's expecting a lot of these free service, free things that they offer, which usually you
realize
wouldn't
that's-
get that much.
Completely staffed by
Yeah.
volunteers,
Right.
rather than the
Have-
director, everybody working at that.
but
was
two things to consider.
Became very popular, because she's doing a really wonderful job with the
She
rec
is doing
department,
a
bringing
great job.
people in and being more active in town, but again, I'm making the suggestion, so I'm
And-
just
and
throwing it
just
out there. I'm
two-
not picking on what you said, I'm just throwing out.
Yeah, and two counterpoints just to remember is that, you know, they're not free, they're being funded by taxation through force.
Right, and I mean,
then-
again, that's just, I think some of
Yeah.
the citizens are gonna decide whether they think it's the
And
money worth
also,
spent.
you know, and I should have sent this out to everybody, but I asked Courtney. Courtney had mentioned that she has a spreadsheet where she keeps track of all the different programs and
say
spending
that.
and stuff like that. So I got that from her and I looked through it, and, you know, there's a number of these programs and free programs and stuff that don't get a lot of attendance, and some of those are gonna get canceled and stuff, so they're not all successful.
Sure.
And some of them don't get a lot of interest, so I think that if they have to, consider whether or not they're worth doing, then, you know, we'll see things that are more wanted by the townspeople,
Great.
continue.
We can keep moving right along if that's okay with
Yep,
everybody.
so 342, which is rec advertising, I would reduce that to $0 or $1, so that's removing $200. I don't think that advertising, I don't know what they use it for, but I don't think that it's necessary. If they think that ads can bring in more money on things that they get fees from, then they can use the recreation revolving fund to advertise those programs. And then 343, the next one, office supplies, that has been underspent every year, so I would recommend reducing that by $100 to $1,200.
Was overspent in 21.
Yeah, it was overspent 21.
Oh, it's underspent last year, though.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Who knows if that's finished?
Sure, I'm just trying to shave off a few
Okay,
bucks here.
343,
Yep.
no problem, just say
How much was in 342 coming out?
200.
200.
Yep.
Just taking the whole thing.
And you still wanna do anything 343 out?
Just lower it by $100.
Yep.
Joe, when we leave tonight, I'll photocopy this in the office and give it to you, then you can just look back and forth to make sure that your notes and my notes are the same,
And this one's going down, yeah, this one's going down by 100.
just for checking wise, okay?
345 rec mileage, that's underspent every year. I would just knock that down $100 to $100. And then 347 rec telephone.
How much on, what number was you on at mileage line 3?
100.
345, $100. And then 347.
You mind waiting
Yep.
just a second here?
They never get billed for anything.
No, for the phones.
Yeah, so that was a thing that has come up.
Right?
right? 347.
On line 345,
$100.
Yeah.
347 question.
Yes.
Yes.
Why haven't spent?
So the rec telephone stuff, all the phones in this building were converted to VoIP, and they're all essentially covered under the one internet bill. So I don't know why rec has its own telephone line. I suspect that it,
has 2 cell phones.
well, they're not paying for
It
them.
says $300 and 0
Actual is
actual.
Yeah,
zero.
there's no actuals.
Got 'em a month ago.
But, so why
But
has
they've
it
been in
been
the budget since
budgeted?
21.
I don't know why they,
Well, we should figure this out and,
So they have 2 cell phones?
yes,
so,
just got it.
so
I
they
have a
got,
note, question mark,
Thank you.
why hasn't it been spent, question cutting the 300?
so one other question that
Isn't gonna be enough then for 2 cell
No,
phones?
not at all.
if indeed the case is that this $300 is covering 2 cell phones, then my question would be, why do we have more than $300, I think, for places like the highway shop over
$300
there?
doesn't cover 2 cell phones.
No.
That's what I'm wondering. Well, you can get a little cricket phone or
We
something.
just said, why not spend?
Good
We're gonna
spy phone.
get a check into that.
Right. But if, if moving to having a cell phone is cheaper than a landline at some of these places, I don't remember how much it is. I don't have my phone and internet spreadsheet here, but, some of these places we're paying for landline phones, it might be easier to just get a little burner cell phone and leave it in there. Anyways, 349, which is library salaries, there's an increase in here of about 13%. Adjusting hourly staff rates for fair compensation. I would suggest that this increase be changed to 5.7%. That is the same raise as we are giving our police officers this year. So if 5.7% is good enough for our
Which line
police
you at?
officers.
Well, that's,
I think
349.
these
it's
were
not just
already
a raise.
implemented,
And
right?
what's the new number gonna be, how much down?
We're discussing it.
But are these salaries already increased for these increases that happened?
So did you do that, John, or there was a thing that went around, we looked at all the librarians in all the surrounding towns. And ours was like paid like $10,000 less than what all the average, of everybody that's around.
That doesn't
Was
sound like
part
a
of things
problem
here?
to me.
Well, if we lose her,
Something to consider.
when we go to hire somebody, we're gonna
she
have to start
threatening to
paying the
quit?
things.
We've had very high turnover in the library. over the last-
Could, I mean,
And they have a really good program right
They've
now.
only
At least
lasted
everybody
a
who's
year or
there
two.
right now is really.
but again, I'm gonna make the suggestion.
All right, sure.
I'm writing the suggestion down, I'm just throwing it out there.
And I'm not just throwing out a random number here. That
I know.
No, I think that's the.
This is, I'm changing it from 147,000 to 138,000, and that is a 5.7% raise, and that is the same that the police officers are getting.
But I believe they were just getting an absolute minimum wage, which is $7.50. And that's, I'm not sure, but
I don't think anyone in New Hampshire actually gets minimum wage.
I think the library staff was, and that's one reason that they're needing a higher raise.
Do you know how many librarians there are?
12.7% seems a bit high.
But there's one, but then there's,
Two
Part-time?
part-times.
This,
Or they try
Yeah.
to get another
We're just
full-time.
gonna divide this number
So,
by-
Sandra, how many people work in the library?
We were just asking
Told
that.
us.
We're looking at like
Yeah, I
100
had that on.
did tell us.
There's
Well,
the
so Sandra, I just-
librarian, there's the assistant librarian, and then I'm not sure
Yeah.
how many just staff there are, part-time staff there are.
Well, I can tell you just looking at this, I
remember it
I took the lowest number on here, the 119 from the last year, and divided that by 750, and that would be 44 hours per day at 365 days a year. There's no way they're getting
Although
minimum
the
wage.
119 isn't full year
I
yet.
thought I remembered her saying that it was her assistant and then like 4 part-times, and a couple of them were just not many hours, but.
and there was
I
one
could be
thing,
wrong.
there was one thing too, they couldn't, one person wanted more hours, but they couldn't afford to pay the hours, so they lost him totally.
Yeah.
That was one, but that was,
Yeah, I know we had some discussion
Yeah.
last year about
15
hours that the
employees,
library was
One
open.
full-time, one full-time hour, one full-time salary, one full-time hourly, and 6 part-time. That's what I wrote down.
So the next.
All out of that one line.
The next line, so yeah, my suggestion is just the raises for the librarians should not exceed the raises for the police. I think the police do a much more dangerous job. So library, operations and appropriations, line 351. My suggestion, based on the notes and the discussion we had with the librarian when she came in front of us, there's line items in their thing for legal review of policies. I believe this is related to the controversy over sexual materials for kids or something like that. I would suggest that we remove this from the amount, so lowering it by $1,825 down to making it $46,050. I don't think that the library should be wasting taxpayer money waging a culture war. So that is a fairly minor, it's like a 4% reduction.
They waging the war, people waging the war now.
Yeah.
Right, but it's keeping it going, right? Let's not waste money on these issues.
Right.
Sounds like you're tying their hands so they can't take their side.
All I wanna do is lower the taxes.
And again, that might not even get cut, so
Right,
whatever.
Yeah,
Sure.
let's just keep going.
We'll come back to that later on when we get to that stage.
All right, 362, conservation mapping SRC. In the notes, it says that this is for a Marsden Woods kiosk.
Yeah.
So if
Everybody
this-
knows where that is?
That's the Marsden property, right?
Right, so where you have the park, been over there, so you know where the parking lot is?
Over
All
the
right,
right.
so you got the fields over here on the, if you're looking at the parking lot from whatchamacallit road, all over here by the, goes
The
by the river.
right-hand side, I saw that.
River, right, they have trails all in there, and what they wanna do is put a, a kiosk, a little roof on it that says, you are here, and if you walk this way, it's 1.2 miles, or this way, this and
Yep.
this.
Yeah,
Now, is somebody gonna get lost in that property?
no.
You gotta cross the river in order to get lost, so
That somebody can do it.
I'm not even saying to get rid of it, John. I'm
Okay,
just,
well,
I'm just saying that
but that's.
this is basically, this is for signage at a park. So that to me is something that would fall under the rec fund. That sounds more appropriate to me. This sounds like an improvement for the park.
Sure.
So I don't know if that was like $900 there. That sounds like it's more appropriate to come out of Rex signage. And that is it for me.
Right.
Thank you, Tom, for your due diligence. Wasn't as bad as I thought.
Like I said, I tried to make
great.
everything reasonable and nothing that would impact critical town
I
services.
wasn't being sarcastic, I'm seriously.
What's the total?
Oh, I haven't figured that
I
out.
don't know. My ones added up to 72,000, but I know we didn't go
Yeah.
all of them.
We're not going there.
Yeah, we're way over that with some of the other cuts
Yeah.
that are on there, so. But
Okay.
that's good, I
Doesn't
mean,
even
that's,
matter.
It gives you something to work with.
Yeah, so I think,
Right.
well, we just wait a week or so, well, or more than that, 'cause Christmas and stuff, right?
Yeah.
well, we actually have a meeting on Tuesday, but that meeting is whether I would like to hand this to the board on Tuesday so that they have a chance to look at it. Tuesday's meeting is really going to be discussing more about our town administrator. So whether we have the time to go and focus, because obviously this takes
Time.
quite a bit of time,
Yeah.
plus what we're gonna talk about the town administrator and the other business, that, I don't know if we'll get it, but everybody's gonna get a copy of this, so that when we come to our next meeting, or we'll decide whether we will have we'll call an emergency meeting or whatever, just
go
to see
through
if
it.
we can get the schedules with everybody. And then to set up, a 2-hour time for us as the board to just focus on this item, so that we're not delaying the process and giving it to you at the last minute, so.
Yep.
Thank you for
And then-
that. We appreciate it.
And then, John, I tried to figure out how to do this with Excel last night. and
I
it's
have no
kinda
idea how to do it, so
complicated.
don't ask me.
Well, I'm throwing an idea out there for you. So if you go through all the stuff that we recommended and stuff, and you do all that, if you're still under by, some few thousand, I think a fair recommendation would be to, figure out what amount needs to be cut, and then figure out what that is as a percentage of the total increase to the budget, and then that'll give you a percent that the increases need to be reduced, and then to go through and just apply that, it would be like essentially like 99.1% or something, say. Just apply that to all of the amount increase. So any line that increases, those increases would be reduced just enough to get you under the tax cap. That's a way to do it, if you can't identify more lines to cut. Just an idea.
This is a,
I
this is
tried
a-
to set it up in Excel, it was complicated, I might try again, but,
What were you gonna say?
so if it can't get below 4, then take all the increases. an average amount for the
Yeah.
remainder,
Yeah.
more or less.
Just distribute whatever else needs to be cut to all of the increase amounts.
Yeah,
That way, nothing that's an established line, that doesn't get cut.
be
It's
getting
just a
cut.
cut to increases.
Hopefully.
But I don't think you'll have to
We'll
do that, because I think we identified enough here.
All right, if we're done with that, Carol, do you want to talk about what you passed out
Yep.
to everybody?
So the default budget increase decrease document, we realized that the version that was handed out last week was an old version. There was a number of adjustments that have been made. So as we did the proposed budget, when we found things that needed to be fixed in the default, they were adjusted. So this is just a more current copy.
Thank you.
We are working on a full default budget that will have all the lines in it, so that would be at the, I think it's January 5th
Meeting.
meeting. So we'll have a revised proposed budget and a full default budget for January 5th. We had a meeting last night, and just as an FYI, the RFPs for propane came back much less expensive than we were expecting.
That's awesome.
For a 1-year contract. We're gonna try to actually negotiate a longer contract as well, but, so that in the proposed budget and in the default, that cost of propane is gonna be much less than what we had estimated. And in our tax cap calculation, we had not fully, or I don't think at all, included the revenue from preschool, because we had not had that in the past.
Great.
So that actually brought by reducing the propane, increasing the revenue from preschool, we were down to like a around 60,000 or 64,000 differential.
That's great.
And then we identified, we cut the homeless transportation because we don't currently have any students utilizing that, so that was a $10,000 cut. And we took out,
Is that the
good chunk-
mental thing, whatever,
What's that?
the homeless thing?
Yeah, I mean, we would still obviously have to pay it if we have anybody,
Right, okay.
Right.
but rather than budgeting it
Hold that
as
up on the
a-
budget, yeah.
you know, just in case, we don't typically have that in every year. And then we took out most of the tech replacement equipment, which is mostly Chromebooks, out of the proposed budget, which I can't remember the exact amount.
The tech line you said?
We didn't take it out, that line out completely, but we took most of the Chromebooks out, and we'll use either ESSER funding or fund balance for that. We're working on creating a cycle so that we would essentially would replace like one set of the 5th grade through 8th grade on like they're basically 4 to 5 year, so we do like replace a full set every year so that we have it on a cycle. So we were down to about 13,000 left, I think, that needed to be cut, if you follow the tax cap. And we will have our high school enrollments mostly finalized by the
More
end of the
accurate
month.
count.
So by the time we meet again, we should have, firmer numbers from all of those things.
That's
So it
awesome.
sounds like the school's trying to get under the tax cap?
We're
They're
bringing
attempting
you
to?
our lowest numbers so that
Yep.
we are not putting it in your hands to come up
Great.
with cuts. You can do whatever you want, but, we are trying to get it down to as close as we can.
Oh, I appreciate that.
The draft warrant articles, we will have a few additional warrant articles, so I just, had them photocopy the write-up for the teacher contract, and then the document that has all of the negotiated changes to the actual contract language. The $88,860 for next year, about 50, I'm looking at my notes, 56 or 57,000 of that is a 2% salary increase across the board. And then the rest of it, 31,636 is FICA and longevity and retirement related to the salary increases, and then changes in, the healthcare buyouts and annuity. And all of the details are in the summary document with the actual contract language.
Okay.
We did add an HSA plan, and we did not take into account any savings from the HSA plan, because we do not know for sure that any employees will choose to enroll. So there are potential savings, but rather than trying to guess what those would be, we did not take those into account.
Is-
So that proposed, well, the agreed upon salary increases, it's 2% the first year, 2% the second year, and 2.25 the third year.
So I have a question. The estimated increases here, 88,000, 83,000. How is it possible that these are lower than the ones that were in the warrant article 3 years ago?
So every time it's in the warrant article, you do not include the step changes or track changes. So there's step changes and track changes in the proposed budget, and these are the 2% in addition to the step changes and track changes. When you look at the next year's budget in 24-25, it will be more than 83,014 because the step changes and track changes are automatically happen regardless of whether this warrant passes. So this is the cost of this warrant article based on current staffing and current steps and just current tracks.
So the steps, which is, I guess, another way to say a union mandated raise, those are defined by these contracts, aren't they?
But they already have steps built into the current contract.
Right.
We didn't change the amount between steps, we just did 2% across the board. So
But hasn't
there's
that,
no change in the
isn't that
steps.
contract expiring?
But they have it in the contract, and there's an evergreen clause that says they get those step increases even if this warrant article doesn't pass.
So the contract doesn't have an
Proposed
expiration
budget.
date,
It has an
essentially.
expiration date, but that part of the contract
Doesn't expire.
doesn't expire.
So the only
Pay
way they-
increases doesn't
The
expire.
only way they don't get a step increase is if they're at the maximum step.
Right, which is if they're at longevity, they're at the maximum step.
Now, do you have the whole contract someplace?
This is the whole contract,
This is
because
the whole one?
we
not-
don't put it into the actual contract unless it's ratified, so this is every
What?
change.
No, I understand that.
Yes.
The current contract is.
I don't
not-
have it with me, it's
Is it
posted online.
someplace? It's posted online. Can you send us a link or something?
I can ask.
Hey, can you believe it's a hard time hiring teachers? Just kidding.
I don't think there's any turnover at the school. Why would you leave?
There is actually, we've have several, people who've already put in for retirement. So we will have
That's,
several,
you have to retire at some point.
have several
Right.
So do we
positions
wanna look
open.
this over?
Usually you retire a couple years early if you
really
carry over
can't-
your sick
Right,
time.
and we can
What are
look
we
it
doing?
over and we can, we should look it over for.
For next meeting.
For next meeting, and if, come up with questions or whatever.
Question on the numbers in the warrant article. I was remembering from the meeting, the school meeting last winter with the paras contract. I felt like the numbers that were written in the warrant article were deceiving, or not purposely deceiving, but they didn't read plainly. In that the first year and second year get added together, and then the
We
third year.
still have to do that here too.
Yeah.
So, can we, at this stage, make changes in this, the way these numbers read, because it does not read plainly?
They won't do that.
I think that would be
We are
very
not
clarifying.
required to give the second
I
and third
understand
year.
you're not
We're only
required,
required
Carol,
to
but
give
it'll
a
save a lot of
raise.
arguing at the school board town session, because this is gonna come up all over again, because it doesn't read, it doesn't look like the math actually is. And so we're gonna have to revisit this all over again in public,
Yeah.
and it's just, it
Yeah.
doesn't look good for the town, it doesn't
We
look good
asked-
for the budget,
we asked the
doesn't look
same
good for the school.
Questions, we asked the same questions.
I agree. I would word it and give figures that the average person is gonna interpret using common sense and not kind of
That's a
obfuscating it.
suggestion. That is a suggestion that I agree with, just to,
Suggestion.
right.
I mean, if we have to talk about it again, then we're gonna talk about it again, but I agree, I think we asked it last
I
time
don't
too.
think I don't think the board has any authority to
Of
force
how it's written,
how they
right?
write their warrant article.
No, no, right,
No, we
exactly.
don't,
We
it's
can
just a
just suggest.
suggestion,
There's standard legal,
right,
Right.
Which this has not
methodologies
gone
and
to
styles
our
and-
legal counsel yet,
Okay.
this was just a draft.
okay,
there's ways that, with the way the laws are written, that you're supposed to present them.
Right.
I'm pretty
But
sure every
there
warrant
is
article,
wiggle room in
every
each
warrant
step.
article that's written does go to legal before it actually
Right,
hits
before-
the article,
yeah.
the ballot.
question isn't whether it's legal or not. We know it squeaks through legally. It's just, it comes across as a little deceptive.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to avoid, you know?
Correct. We want to be transparent as a board. I
Transparency.
think we've said that multiple times, but
Anything else?
no. Does anybody else have any
Is
questions?
there, we set the date for deliberative, did we ever give you guys that?
What is your delivered date?
It's the Tuesday, I think. It's it, 8th.
That's the date we assume.
Yeah, it's the beginning of February. Yeah, I think ours is the next, like, 2 days behind you or
Seventh.
something like
No,
that.
yours is the Saturday.
Town set
Yours
it
is
for
the
February 4th, a Saturday.
Right, so yeah.
Right, ours is, I think, the 7th. 7th is Tuesday. That's what we set it for.
Okay.
I saw at one point it was on a Saturday, a week
The
after.
town is Saturday.
That's the town and then the school.
It's gonna be on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday, I believe.
We're hoping for a blizzard so no one shows up. Just kidding.
And then our, I think we said our snow date would have to be Friday, I think, because I think you guys have select board Monday and we have school board
Right.
Wednesday. I think it might be that same week. I'd have to look at the calendar.
The selectmen haven't set a snow date yet.
I thought the 11th was gonna be, the other Saturday was gonna be your snow date. Oh, no, we wouldn't have a school board meeting. that week. You probably have select board on Monday though.
Every Monday, yep.
That's why we picked Tuesday. So we wouldn't interfere with yours.
So Carol, when this was negotiated in secret, I know we get the.
We discussed this.
Motion to adjourn.
We can, yeah.
No, I have a question about this and how it relates to budget stuff. When you guys negotiate this, I had heard you guys released limited details of what happened in negotiation, and it sounded like one of the starting points for the negotiation process was the school providing economic data to the union, I'm assuming, to talk about like what incomes in the towns are and stuff like that.
What the what?
I remember when the negotiations were starting, and we were at a school board meeting, and they were reading off what happened in the meeting. There was a discussion that the school was providing economic data for the town.
I'll get with you later about the calendar.
I
I
assume,
don't,
make sure it's
one,
the
I
same.
wasn't in the negotiations. Two, I don't
Yeah.
remember what the statement said.
Okay.
They make data requests from the SAU, just like anybody can make public records requests.
yeah,
And we did our own analysis of comparators. I don't know if it was provided to them or not.
analysis of what?
We did analysis of comparator. We looked at other contracts in other towns, other school districts, to look at what their steps were and their raises were.
To keep us competitive, right? Oh.
Are there any
I don't know
other,
if it was provided to them.
has the school board been releasing any more documents that have any details on the negotiations? Or is it
We
basically what we
read-
see is what we get?
Everything that was read at the public meeting is in our minutes. So the last, yesterday we didn't have one because it had already been TA'd. But whatever the last meeting that they had a statement, it was in our minutes.
And did you guys ever, the last I had come to the school board meeting, we had finished up the discussions on the Warren article for that. I had asked if the school was going to request from the union to do the negotiation in public and get a statement from the teachers' union that they would refuse, and that we would drop it at that point to avoid any potential lawsuits. Was that ever done?
I was not in the discussions for the negotiations, so I don't know.
All right, I'll ask at a school board meeting, thank you.
Okay, before we go, our next meeting is December 29th, which is next Thursday. Town final proposed budget, that's what we're asking, right? And then was there anything else added?
Except
Because
they're
I just,
both out of the room.
yeah. I just wanted to make sure that I had that
We will
down right.
not have anything, and I don't know that we'll actually have somebody here either.
The rep,
for
okay.
next.
I'm gonna make note of that. I owe this calendar, the updated calendar to,
So if they're not gonna have, he just said basically that they're not gonna have a new budget for next
so
year.
then should we
so
not
what
even
do we-
meet?
Well, I
Well, we
wanna
have to go
hear,
talk to 'em.
let them come back first.
Alright, let me go get them really quick, cause I'm ready.
So we're planning to have our final January 5th.
Are
Our
you
hearing
meeting
the 12th.
before the 29th, Thursday?
We're meeting 27th.
We're meeting Tuesday.
Alright,
But you're not changing the budget. right?
We're not even gonna talk about the budget.
okay.
We get a full agenda.
We have,
That was
we
my
got,
question, is if we
Okay,
have a
so-
meeting on Thursday, the 29th, are we gonna have anything to talk about, or should we scrap that meeting and?
If we don't have an updated budget from you, we don't have anything.
Then we don't have anything to talk about.
That's what we're driving at.
I'll tell you right now, we are not gonna have an updated budget from
Okay.
the discussion of everything that was on here tonight.
Yeah.
It takes too much time for the board to go over it.
We figured
We
as
have
much.
too much stuff on
That's why we
Tuesday.
were asking.
That's,
We're not
we
doing
always-
anything Monday to go over it, so.
So let's just cancel that meeting then.
Okay.
Because if nobody's got
We
anything,
definitely won't have
then
anything, 'cause we don't
Yeah.
have.
We might try to, if, we'll see if that, if we, again, it might be that we schedule a meeting for, New Year's Eve is Monday. So we might have, maybe we'll squeeze a meeting for Tuesday, again, the week after, so that we can have something ready for you for that Thursday.
the fifth.
Because we don't have
That
a
would be
meeting,
the fifth.
right, yeah.
but
Yeah, January fifth would be the school final proposed budget request.
Yeah, we're-
In town?
that's really what we were hoping is that.
We're gonna have, I think, our revenues and estimated tax increase and all that stuff.
So,
Meeting the 29th or no?
No.
It sounds
It
like
sounds
no.
like there's no need for
Okay.
it.
And then I'm gonna adjust the calendar and just put school and town final proposed budget.
Yeah.
And then
It's
our,
gonna be a
Need a
long night.
vacation, John.
our hearing is on the
That's gonna be a
12th.
long
when
night.
it's-
got a meeting,
The school budget hearing, yep, I have that down as the 12th. And then this, snow day for either hearing is gonna be January 17th. Okay. All right. I think that's it. If anybody else has anything.
Okay, I'm adjourned.
Thank you all for your time.
Motion to adjourn, second.
Second.
Vote, all right.
Oh, make sure John knows who made the first and the second.
Yeah, I know.
Everybody simultaneously.
First by Sandra,
I did first.
Okay.
second by Tom, I
Somebody else
think.
seconded.
Seconded by just about everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, pick somebody.
Not just about.
Pick a name out of a hat. We'll go with it. We'll be good.